The sun shines from the towering alloy dome of the academy, reflecting the rows of giant mechas that shine with metallic luster. They stand beside the training ground, like sleeping steel behemoths, and every armor plate is covered with scratches of war. The air was filled with the pungent smell of engine oil and ionization, faintly mingled with the distant hum of the waves crashing on the shore. This is the edge line of defense of the future Earth, the Mecha Academy, the last bastion of mankind against alien invasion. Shihan took a deep breath, held the admission certificate in her hand, and hesitated in her steps. She was only 18 years old, and her slender figure looked pitifully small in front of these behemoths. "Hey, freshman, don't be in a daze." A rough voice blasted from the radio, accompanied by a piercing alarm. Shihan looked up and saw a burly middle-aged man striding over. He was wearing a dark blue instructor's uniform with 3 silver badges on his shoulders. The scar on his face from his brow bone to his chin was like a lightning bolt, highlighting his qualifications. "I am Fumio, your instructor. From today on, you are not students, but soldiers. Those alien monsters will not show mercy just because you are young." Shihan's heartbeat quickened. She recalled the disaster 3 years ago. Her home was razed to the ground by the energy beam of the alien fleet, and her parents' shouts still echoed in her ears. That day, she hid in the ruins and watched the sky being engulfed in flames. From then on, she vowed to become stronger, control these mechas, and protect the remaining world. Wenxiong's words were like a needle, piercing into her memories and making her grit her teeth. "Yes, instructor." She and the other freshmen responded in unison, with childish determination in their voices. On the training ground, more than a dozen simulated mechas are already in place. They are slightly smaller than real combat mechas, but their appearance is still majestic. The thick mechanical arms are embedded with energy cannons, and the thrusters behind the chest armor buzz slightly, like a beating heart. Wenxiong pointed to the first station and turned to stare at Shihan. "You, Shihan. Get up. Don't tell me you can't even open the cockpit." Shihan swallowed and climbed up the mecha's elevator. The metal steps were bone-chilling and made a creaking sound with every step. She pushed open the cockpit door, and a warm electromagnetic field hit her face. The cabin is narrow and precise, with countless screens flashing blue lights, and joysticks and pedals extending like tentacles. Shihan sat in the seat. The seat belt was automatically buckled, and she felt like being hugged by a mecha. Fumio's voice came from the communicator. "Start synchronization. Concentrate and let your nerves connect with the body. If the synchronization rate is lower than 50%, you will be out." She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. The afterimage of my home comes to mind: collapsed buildings, blazing flames. Can't back down. She imagined that she was part of the mecha, her blood turned into electricity, and her will was as strong as steel. Suddenly, a numbness shot up from his spine, like countless fine needles piercing his nerves. On the screen, the synchronization rate figures climbed rapidly: 10%, 30%, 70%, finally settled at 92%. Shihan opened her eyes and felt a majestic power pouring into her limbs. Every joint of the mech felt like an extension of her, and the feel of the wind blowing through the armor was clearly audible. The fear dissipated instantly, replaced by unprecedented excitement. This is not a machine, this is her wings, her claws. 92%. Wenxiong's voice was unusually surprised in the communication. "Newcomer, your synchronization rate." Don't be complacent yet. Basic operations: move forward, turn, aim. Follow me. The simulation scene is activated, and the surrounding virtual environment emerges like a tide: desolate urban ruins, the remains of high-rise buildings are looming in the fog, and low explosions are heard in the distance. Fumio's mecha rushed out first, waving its mechanical arms to demonstrate how to dodge virtual gunfire. Look clearly. The mecha is not a toy. Slow movement is a dead end. His body turned sideways flexibly, and an energy beam grazed the shoulder armor, leaving a wisp of black smoke. Shihan gripped the joystick tightly and thought, "I can do it." The mecha responded to her thoughts, its thrusters roared, and shallow pits were stepped on the ground. She followed Fumio, feeling her body merge with steel. The wind howled by, and the outline of the city in the field of vision approached as if it were real. Turn 30 degrees to the left. Wenxiong ordered. Shihan's instinct moved and the mecha slid sideways to avoid a virtual missile that sprang out from the ruins. Her heart beat in sync with the engine, excitement flowing like electricity. Instructor, I feel, it is listening to me. Stop talking nonsense and concentrate. Wenxiong's tone was still stern, but Shihan could hear a subtle hint of approval. The training continued, and she learned how to charge the energy cannon. The crystal core on the breastplate began to pulse, and the blue light converged into a hot ball of light. Fumio explained, the energy cannon is the trump card of the mecha, but if you aim wrong by 1 point, you will commit suicide. Don't just rely on your eyes to predict the enemy. The simulation battle officially begins. A group of virtual enemy planes descended from the sky. They were shaped like twisted beetles, with red sensors flashing and tongues of fire spitting from their cannons. Other freshmen watched nervously in the viewing area nearby, and someone whispered, "Is that girl okay? She looks like a schoolgirl." Shihan's mecha was surrounded by 3 enemy planes, and she felt a dangerous aura, not data, but intuition, like a beast that can predict the direction of the wind. The one on the left needs to go behind. She yanked the control stick, the mecha spun around, and the energy cannon locked automatically. Fire! Wenxiong shouted over the communication. Shihan pulled the trigger, and a dazzling blue-white beam burst out from the muzzle, tearing the air and making a thunderous roar. The beam directly hit the leading enemy aircraft, and the virtual ship's hull instantly twisted. Debris scattered like fireworks, and the shock wave of the explosion shook the entire simulation field. The other 2 enemy planes were swallowed up by the aftermath before they could react, turning into data fragments and dissipating. In the field of vision, the scene of the core of the virtual enemy ship being blown to pieces was frozen, the metal melted and the fire shot into the sky, like a gorgeous feast of destruction. The training ground was silent for a moment, and then the students erupted in exclamations. "Oh my God, 1 hit will kill you. Is she a monster? The synchronization rate is so high." Shihan slid out of the cockpit, her legs were still shaking slightly, but a smile appeared on her lips. The aftertaste of power made her full of confidence, transforming from a timid freshman into a hidden warrior. Fumio came closer and patted her shoulder, a smile appeared on Scar's face. "That's right, little girl. The prediction is accurate and the artillery fire is steady. But this is just a simulation. On the real battlefield, the enemy will not give you a second chance." Just as Shihan was panting and savoring the excitement, a crisp voice sounded from the side, "Shihan, your synchronization just now was perfect. I am Chihua, your roommate and partner." Chihua is a short-haired girl with bright eyes, holding a stack of data tablets in her hands. She came closer and whispered, "I have a little talent and can optimize the energy system. Look at that time you bombarded me, the charging time was 20% shorter, right? Next time I will help you adjust the crystal core, I guarantee it will be more powerful." Shihan was stunned for a moment, then laughed. Chihua's enthusiasm was like a warm current, diluting the fatigue of training. "Really? That's great. I just don't want my home to be destroyed again," she whispered, memories coming back to her, the streets engulfed in flames, the shadows of her parents. Chihua held her hand and said seriously, "Let's work together. By optimizing the energy cannon, we can fire more shots and defend more things. Your intuition, coupled with my adjustments, will make you invincible." Fumio cleared his throat and interrupted them. "That's enough, the chat is over. Shihan, you have potential, but your growth has just begun. Next week, the real battle simulation will start. The alien fleet has approached the front line, are you ready to face the living monsters?" His eyes swept across the crowd, and the air seemed to be filled with the smell of gunpowder smoke. Shihan nodded, determination flashing in his eyes. The pulse of the mecha was still reverberating in her body, and she knew that this was just the starting point. Word count, 1287. The training area of the academy is like a giant beast that never sleeps. The low roar of the engine and the clang of metal collision are intertwined. The air is filled with the smell of heat waves and ionized burns. Shihan wiped the sweat from his forehead and followed Chihua quickly into the hangar. The residual heat from last night's simulated battle was still running through her body, and she felt as if some dormant instinct had been awakened by the mecha. Chihua excitedly waved the data tablet, her short hair swaying in the light. Shihan, I spent all night analyzing your synchronization data last night. The energy cannon's charging bottleneck is the overheating of the crystal core. I can optimize it and shorten the cycle time by 15%. As a team, we are absolutely invincible. Shihan smiled, feeling warm in her heart. Chihua's enthusiasm was like a mecha's propeller, pushing her forward. Okay, but Instructor Fumio said today is a high-intensity simulation, which doesn't sound easy. They arrived at the mecha parking area, and the first simulator, her partner, stands there. The breastplate still has scorch marks from last night's shelling and is slightly hot. Shihan touched the armor and it felt like touching her own skin, rough but reliable. Fumio's voice exploded from the hangar broadcast, shaking the eardrums like thunder. Freshmen, assemble. The simulated battle is upgraded, multiple waves of enemy attacks. Shihan, Chihua, you are in a group. Chihua is responsible for logistics optimization, Shihan is responsible for the attack. Others watch the battle and learn. He strode forward, his scarred face became more serious in the shadow, and he held a holographic projector in his hand, with a red enemy aircraft icon flashing on it. Those alien beetles don't fight alone, they come in groups. Synchronization rate fluctuations are a killer for newcomers. Stay calm, otherwise the mecha will become an iron coffin. The door of the training cabin slammed shut, and the surrounding virtual environment emerged like a tide. This time it was a coastal ruin, with strong winds mixed with the smell of salty sea water blowing on your face, and the sound of waves breaking the walls echoed. Shihan climbed into the cockpit, while Chihua connected to the logistics terminal, and the tablet and the mecha interface were seamlessly connected. Start simultaneously. Shihan whispered, closing her eyes and concentrating. Neural connections flowed like electricity, and the synchronization rate climbed steadily to 88%. Chihua's voice came from the communicator, with an excited vibrato. Optimization started. The crystal core cycle is accelerated, the energy cannon is ready, charging only takes 8 seconds. The mecha woke up, its thrusters sprayed out blue flames, and the ground was distorted by the heat wave. Fumio's simulator was demonstrating next to him, the first wave, 10 reconnaissance enemy planes. Predict the trajectory and don't let them get close. The virtual enemy group sprang out of the fog, like black locusts, with red sensors flashing in the wind, and artillery fire pouring down like raindrops. Shihan's intuition moved. The mecha rushed forward, and the mechanical arm blocked an energy beam. Sparks flew everywhere, and a burning sensation spread to her palms. Chihua, lock the 3 left-wing stations, she shouted. Roger. Energy injection, muzzle heat is under control. Chihua's response was as precise as the rhythm. Shihan took aim and pulled the trigger. The first energy cannon burst out, and the blue light tore through the air, shattering the 2 enemy planes. The fragments fell like rain, hitting the ruins with a muffled sound. The third one tried to go sideways, but she spun around to dodge. The vibration under her pedals made her feel like she was running on the top of a wave. The team's tacit understanding is beginning to appear. Chihua's optimization shortens the interval between bombardments, and Shihan's prediction avoids 80% of the firepower. The second wave of enemy planes came, 20 of them, mixed with medium-sized assault types. The green slurry spewed from the muzzle simulated corrosive bombs, and the air was filled with a sour virtual smell. Shihan's mecha was surrounded, and an enemy plane rushed from behind, its claws scratching the shoulder armor, making a harsh tearing sound. The synchronization rate suddenly fluctuated, 88% dropped to 65%. Noise flashed through his mind, like static interference, nerve connections loosened, and the mecha's movements became sluggish. Damn, what's going on? Shihan gritted his teeth, feeling that his limbs were as heavy as lead and the edges of his vision were blurry. Wenxiong shouted in the communication, "Stay steady. Fluctuations are caused by fear and are common among newcomers. Adjust your breathing and regain your intuition." Panic came like a tide, but Shihan took a deep breath, and the afterimage of her home appeared in her mind. Her parents fell in the sea of fire, and the roar of the collapsed streets was still in her ears. She cannot fall. That's not a weakness, that's fuel. I want to protect the rest. She whispered, her heart as solid as steel. Her intuition returned, and she imagined that the mecha was her own body, leaning slightly and using the thrusters to adjust the angle slightly. The mecha flexibly rolls sideways to avoid corrosive bombs, with a synchronization rate of rebound of 85%. The crisis was reversed, and she fired a backhand shot that penetrated the core of the enemy plane. The green liquid exploded and splashed with smelly smoke. Chihua, now. Energy overload mode unlocked. My golden finger came into play, crystal core overclocking, 3 shots in a row, pay attention to the heat. Chihua's voice was full of joy, as if he was sharing a secret weapon. Shihan felt a stream of heat pouring in from the chest armor, the pulse of the energy muzzle accelerated, and the blue light converged into a violent ball of light. She pressed the burst button. The first shot destroyed the leading enemy aircraft, the second shot swept the flanks, and the third shot hit the rear row. The enemy formation collapsed like a domino. There were chain explosions, the fire reflected the sea surface red, and the debris fell like a meteor shower. A feeling of exhilarating destruction filled her chest, and Shihan laughed loudly. It's so fierce. We did it. The team's tacit understanding was like an invisible rope, binding them together, from isolated efforts to unremitting joint efforts. Her skills have improved, no longer blind intuition, but a precision that combines prediction and optimization. The simulation ends, the hatch opens, and fresh air flows in, diluting the virtual smell of gunpowder. Shihan slid out of the cockpit, her legs still trembling with excitement. Chihua rushed over and hugged her. The overload mode was successful. Your adjustment saved us. The synchronized fluctuation made me sweat. Wenxiong approached and nodded rarely, not bad. Little girl, your intuition saved the day, but in a real battle, the fluctuation will be fatal. Continue to practice. Shihan gasped and responded, Instructor, I feel, the mecha has given me freedom. Like flying, I am no longer the girl hiding in the ruins. The pain of her home turned into motivation, and her eyes became firm. This was her transformation. Just as they were cleaning up, a woman wearing greasy overalls came over, her hair tied up, holding a toolbox in her hand, her face covered in black ash. I'm Shuefen, mecha engineer. I heard that you showed off your artillery fire. Let me check. She climbed onto the mecha, the scanner buzzed, and the blue light scanned the armor. The synchronization rate is high and the load is large. The shoulder armor is scratched a lot and the crystal core is slightly overheated. Hey, little girl, your body has good potential. It is recommended to add a preliminary customized painting, dark blue background and silver protective lines, which represents toughness. It will increase the recognition, let your teammates recognize you at a glance on the battlefield, and improve morale. Those alien guys, if the paint is cool, they will know that humans are not afraid of death. Shihan's eyes lit up and he touched the mecha, dark blue, like the sea of my home. Thank you, Sister Shuefen. I want it to be more like mine. Chihua said excitedly, I'll help optimize the coding and incorporate energy diversion. Shuefen smiled, okay, see you in the hangar tomorrow. The coding not only looks good, but can also fine-tune its performance. The afterglow of the training had not dissipated when suddenly, a low humming sound came from the distance. Outside the field of vision, the holographic warning screen flashed red, an alien reconnaissance plane was approaching the edge of the academy. It is shaped like a twisted flying lizard, with green light pulsating on its surface, and scanning beams protruding out like snake messages. Wenxiong's face darkened. Damn it, Guantang's men. The vanguard of the alien alliance, don't let it detect our deployment. Shihan's heartbeat accelerated, and the reconnaissance plane circled, creating a small-scale threat. A detection pulse swept across, the hangar lights flickered, and the air was filled with the pungent smell of electromagnetic interference. Shihan, get on the plane. Qihua, optimize in place. Wenxiong ordered. Shihan rushed to the cockpit, feeling the adrenaline burning. Reconnaissance planes swooped down, green light cannons aimed, the shadow of invasion foreshadowed an even greater storm. But she was ready, the mecha's pulse synchronized with her heartbeat. This time, it's not a simulation. Just as she buckled her seatbelt, the college alarm sounded harshly, and the red light flooded everything, all combat preparations. Alien reconnaissance invasion, defense formations in place. The storm is coming. Word count, 1248. The red light of the alarm pulsed like blood, and the air in the hangar instantly solidified into iron-like tension. Shihan fastened her seatbelt, and the screen in the cockpit lit up, reflecting her face, pale and determined. The green light of the alien reconnaissance plane flashed at the edge of the field of vision, like the eyes of a poisonous snake, and the scanning beam penetrated the college's defense line like a thin needle. Wenxiong's voice burst out from the communicator, Shihan, Qihua, lock on that beast. Other mechas block the exit. Don't let it send back data. Shihan's fingertips trembled slightly. This was a real battlefield, not a simulated phantom. The mecha's engine roared to life, the thrusters sprayed out heat waves, and the ground trembled slightly. She felt that her heartbeat was synchronized with the mechanical pulse, and the synchronization rate quickly climbed to 85%. The reconnaissance plane swooped down, spraying energy slurry from the green muzzle, grazing the hangar wall, leaving a melting scorch mark, and the pungent smell of molten metal filled the air. It's coming! Shihan shouted, and his intuition flashed through his mind like lightning, it was going to rush in from the side. She jerked the control stick, and the mecha turned sideways. The energy beam grazed the shoulder armor, and the burning sensation spread to the nerves like fire. Qihua, the energy cannon is in position. Shihan ordered. Qihua quickly tapped on the logistics terminal, and the voice came from the communication, with rapid excitement, optimizing. The crystal core is stable, charging in 5 seconds. Shihan took aim and pulled the trigger. A blue light burst out, tearing the night sky apart, and accurately hit the wing root of the reconnaissance aircraft. The green hull twisted, the exploding fireball exploded like fireworks, and the debris fell like raindrops, hitting the college wall with a clanging sound. The threat was over and the alarm faded, but Shihan's chest was still rising and falling violently. This was her first kill, real destruction, bloody and real. Fumio's mecha landed, the hatch opened, and he jumped out, scarred face covered with sweat. Good job, little girl. But this is just an appetizer. The alien armies forwards have gathered at the border, and a small-scale invasion is about to break out. Tomorrow morning, you and Qihua will patrol the front line with me. The logistics team will follow to protect the transportation line. Are you ready to face a living monster? His eyes were like knives, scanning Shihan. Qihua poked his head from behind the terminal and gasped, Instructor, we can do it. Shihan's intuition saved the college's life. Shihan nodded and slid out of the cockpit, his legs feeling limp. The night wind blew, mixing with the salty smell of seawater and the smell of gunfire from distant gunfire. She touched the armor of the mecha, and the residual heat was like the body temperature of her comrades. A warm current surged in my heart. She had done it, protected this place, just like she swore to protect her home. But the aftertaste of fear was still there, and the faces of her parents flashed in her mind. She could only cry helplessly as they fell into the sea of fire. Now, she holds the power. This is not the end, but the beginning. Early the next morning, the frontline patrol set off. The sun pierces the clouds and shines on the deserted coastline. The waves crash on the cratered beach, and the waves are mixed with the flash of metal fragments. Fumio's mecha led the team, with 3 fighter jets hovering in the sky, followed closely by the logistics team, several supply trucks and Shuefan's engineering vehicle. Shihan's mecha was walking on the flank, and Chihua was sitting on the logistics vehicle, connecting and optimizing the system. The air is filled with the smell of diesel and seaweed, and the shadow of an alien fleet can be seen faintly on the horizon like a dark cloud. "Stay vigilant," Wenxiong growled in the communication. "Low-level enemy planes like to raid the supply lines. They are shaped like beetles, fast, and have vicious fire. Shihan, your intuition is the key. Chihua, monitor the energy flow." Shihan clenched the joystick, and the synchronization rate was stable at 87%. Different simulations of real battlefields, the resistance of the wind makes the mecha sway slightly, and the moisture carried by the sea breeze penetrates into the joints, making a slight creaking sound. She glanced around. The ruins of tall buildings stood like severed limbs, hiding countless dangers. Suddenly, the radar screams. 5 low-level enemy aircraft sprang out of the sea fog, like twisted steel spiders, their red sensors flashing, and their claws clawing at the ground making a scratching sound. They charged directly at the logistics team, spraying out green pulp bombs, aiming directly at the supply trucks. "Assault! Shihan, intercept the left wing. Wenxiong covers the right side." The communication was filled with shouts. Shihan's heart beat violently, and panic surged in like a tide. This was not data, but a living thing. Their movements were strange, their trajectories were like snakes, the gunfire grazed the truck, leaving a smoking crack, and the driver's screams came from the communication. "Damn!" Shihan muttered. The synchronization rate dropped to 75%, the mecha responded slowly, and its vision was blurred. She felt like she was back in the ruins of 3 years ago, powerless and insignificant. The image of her parents flashed in her mind, her mother holding her hand, her father standing in front of her, shouting, "Run, Shihan, stay alive." The pain was like a knife, but this time, it turned into fuel. History cannot be allowed to repeat itself. She took a deep breath, closed her eyes for a moment, and felt her intuition ignite like a torch. The 2 stations on the left were going to go behind, and the 3 stations on the right were charging straight ahead. "I won't let you destroy more," she growled, her inner belief solidifying like steel. The synchronization rate skyrocketed, breaking through the bottleneck to 94%. The mecha moves its fingers like an arm, and every joint obeys the will. The touch of the wind and the rhythm of the waves are all integrated into one. "Chihua, fire up the energy cannon." Shihan shouted. The machine rushed forward, waving its mechanical arm to deflect a plasma bomb, and the sour corrosive smell filled the cabin. She predicted the trajectory and locked onto the first enemy aircraft. It jumped up and stretched its claws towards the truck. She pulled the trigger, and the blue light beam burst out, accurately penetrating the core. The enemy plane exploded into a fireball, and the fragments smashed into the sea like meteors, causing huge waves. The second one came from the flank, and she turned to dodge. She felt the mecha was as light as a dancer, and smashed its sensors with a backhand shot. Green liquid splashed everywhere, and the fishy smell hit her nostrils. The third one tried to escape, and she intuitively captured its escape arc. The third energy cannon shot out, tearing the air and hitting the tail. The shock wave of the explosion shook the ground and the waves rolled back, but the logistics team was safe and sound. From panic to calmness, Shihan took control of the battle. Her movements were no longer stiff, but smooth and instinctive, and every turn of the mecha carried a confident rhythm. Wenxiong's voice was full of approval. "Good job. Chihua, keep up with the optimization." Chihua responded quickly. The heat of the barrel increased by 40%, I adjusted it on the spot. "Inject coolant and accelerate the cycle, now it can fire 4 shots in a row without overheating." Her golden fingers came into play, the neural network pulsed like a living creature, and the energy system hummed steadily. Shihan felt the heat recede from the muzzle, replaced by pure power. She turned to the remaining enemy groups and joined forces with Fumio, one shot wiped out two of them. Chihuahua's optimization shortened the distance, and blue light poured out like a barrage of cannons. The enemy plane collapsed, its wreckage fell into the sea, and the waves swallowed everything up. Together they fought back, leaving only the high-pitched hum of victory in the air. The soldiers poked their heads out from behind the truck and cheered, "Shihan, sharpshooter. Logistics owes you a life." A veteran slapped her mecha with a rough voice, "Little girl, from novice to hero, it's just this battle." When Xiong landed and nodded, "Synchronized breakthrough, the bottleneck is gone. You protecting the team is the sign of a true warrior." Shihan slid out of the cabin door, her cheeks burning. Chihua rushed over and hugged, "We are invincible." "Your prediction, my optimization, perfect combo." Deep inside, Shihan thought back to her family. Their sacrifice was not shackles, but wings. She strengthened her belief that protection was no longer just empty talk, but the gunfire in her hands. Patrol over, return to the hangar. Shuefen was already waiting, with her toolbox spread out and scanning Shihan's mecha. There was a deep scratch on the shoulder armor, the barrel was slightly deformed, and heat was still rising. "The damage is not minor, but it will be repaired quickly. Come, let's talk about painting while repairing." Shuefen climbed up the ladder, sparks from the welding gun flying, and the smell of melted metal filling the air. She explained, "Customized paint not only looks good, but also boosts morale. The silver-gray tone reflects energy, fine-tunes defense, and symbolizes toughness. Like you, it can withstand blows. On the battlefield, just seeing the paint of your teammates can boost your morale and keep you from panicking." Shihan touched the scratches and nodded, "Silver gray is like the gravel of home, which can withstand wind and rain. I choose it, which means I will not run away again." Chihua said excitedly, "Add some blue energy lines and integrate it into my optimization system." "Sister Shuefen, can you?" Shuefen smiled, "Of course. Little girls, with you, this mecha will become a legend." During the repair process, a strange signal invaded the communication, and the holographic screen flashed green. A low voice sounded, translating the alien language into human language, with a mocking tone, "Human recruit, Shihan, right? Your artillery fire is interesting, but this is just a trial. General Guantang is here to observe. Next time, I will come to meet you in person." In the screen, a vague mecha figure hovered, with a red cloak fluttering like a blood flag. The signal was disconnected and the hangar was silent. Wen Xiong's face was ashen. "Guantang, the alien commander. He is provocative. He is targeting you." Shihan clenched her fists and her heartbeat accelerated. Fear mixed with excitement, a greater test is coming. But she is different. From a girl to a warrior, her growth trajectory is clear. Chihua whispered, "Let's deal with it together." Shuefen patted her and said, "The painting will be done tomorrow, rest first." As night falls, the frontline warning screen suddenly lights up, the red alert flashes, the data stream shows that the alien legions are gathering in large numbers, and the shadow of the fleet is pressing down on the sea level. Invasion warning. Everyone is on combat readiness. Fumio shouted. The storm was approaching, and Shihan looked out the window. The waves roared like war drums. Word count, 1263. The sea breeze, mixed with the astringent smell of gunpowder smoke, beat wildly against the alloy walls of the college. The red warning light flashed like a pulse, and the roar of the engines in the hangar had turned into a chaotic symphony. Shihan held the joystick tightly. On the screen in the cockpit, the shadow of the horizon was slowly approaching. The outline of the alien fleet was like the back of a giant beast, faintly pulsing with green light. Wen Xiong's voice exploded in the communication, "All combat preparations. The reconnaissance team is dispatched. Shihan and Chihua are following me. Shuefen, you sit in the rear and prepare for long-range support. That bastard Guantang is playing tricks, and we have to find out his deployment." Shihan's heartbeat was like a war drum, and the threat from last night was still echoing in her ears. She nodded, and the mecha's thrusters spurted out blue flames, and the ground was distorted by the heat wave. The three-person team quickly assembled. Wenxiong's senior mecha took the lead, and the armor was covered with old scars. Shihan's body shoulder armor had been initially painted, and the silver-gray paint shone in the morning light, like tough gravel. Chihua's logistics vehicle followed closely, and the data flow on the tablet was rushing like a river. They rushed out of the academy and headed along the ruins on the coast. The roar of the waves was accompanied by the sound of tires crushing, and the air was filled with the smell of salt and metal. "Keep the radio silent," Wenxiong whispered. "Guantang's induction network is everywhere within 50 kilometers of the enemy's territory. Shihan, your intuition is our eyes." Deep into enemy territory, the terrain gradually changes, the coastline turns into cliffs, the wind sounds like a ghost crying, and craters and wreckage are hidden among the rocks. Shihan's synchronization rate was stable at 90%, and every step the mecha took was like stepping on the apex of her heart. She glanced around, her intuition piercing like a thin needle. There was a faint electromagnetic pulse in the air, like an ambush. "Instructor, there is something strange in the East Canyon. It's not the wind, it's their invisibility field." Wenxiong snorted. "Newcomers, don't guess. Keep moving forward." But she was flooded with premonitions. Suddenly, the radar screams. On both sides of the canyon, more than a dozen alien mechas sprang out of stealth, like twisted steel spiders, with red cloaks hunting in the wind. Guantang's voice seeped out from the jammed signal, taunting like a knife. "Human bug, welcome to die. My elite guards are in place. Shihan, your artillery fire makes me curious, come and try it." The ambush fell like a net, and green slurry bullets poured down like raindrops. The first wave hit Fumio's mecha directly, and the shoulder armor melted to create a deep groove. Sparks scattered, and the burning smell hit his nose. Fumio counterattacked, destroying one with one cannon, but was surrounded by enemies. Chihua's logistics vehicle was grazed by claws, the body trembled, and the data tablet flashed an alarm. Shihan's mecha was the first to bear the brunt. An elite machine, Guantang's personal guard, with a purple light shining on its surface and a speed as fast as a ghost, pounced on her. Its claws tore her leg armor, metal fragments flew, and pain rushed into her nerves like electricity. The synchronization rate plummeted to 70%, the body staggered, the edges of the vision were blurred, and the damage was serious. The propeller leaked oil, the energy barrel was deformed, and heat waves poured out from the cracks, like a burning wound. "Damn it! I can't move." Shihan gritted his teeth, and the cruelty of war flashed through his mind, not a game, but the crushing of flesh and steel. The sea of fire in her home resurfaced, and her parents' corpses dissolved in the green slurry. Her heart felt like it had fallen into an ice cave, and she was briefly lost. Why? Is this endless killing worth it? Fear wrapped around her like a vine, making her hesitate for a moment. Shihan. Terrain. Chihua's shout was like an anchor, pulling her back to her senses. The rock walls of the canyon are towering, and under the cliff are the rapid sea currents, and the waves make a muffled sound. Shihan's intuition flashed. Guantang's tactic was to outflank. Elite aircraft dived from high altitudes, and the supply depot was hidden at the bottom of the canyon. That was their weakness. She took a deep breath and whispered in her heart, "Can't stop. The pain of home is not a shackle, but a fire. War is cruel, but without fighting, nothing can be defended." Faith was rekindled and the synchronization rate rebounded to 85%. She yanked the control stick, and the mecha rolled into the rock cover with the force. Stone chips flew up and the dust choked her nose. Chihua, linkage. Energy cannon transfer mode, I lure, you optimize the diversion. Chihua's voice was firm, Roger. My golden finger is activated, and energy is injected into your gun barrel from the logistics vehicle. Be careful with the heat, the damaged machine will not be able to withstand the continuous fire. Wenxiong shouted in the melee, "Little girl, don't be brave. Retreat." But Shihan didn't listen. She predicted Guantang's next step, the elite opportunity to divide their troops to pursue, leaving a gap at the supply depot. Sure enough, Two elite aircraft swooped down, claws of purple light clawing at her hiding place. The wind howled, and the rough touch of the rock wall came through the mecha. She waited for the opportunity. Her intuition was like thunder and lightning. The left machine moved first, the right machine followed. Now! She rushed out, the mecha slid sideways to avoid the claw attack, and sparks were scraped off the stone wall. Energy linkage started, blue light poured in from Chihua's car, and the gun barrel pulsed like a heart. Shihan locked the left elite machine and pulled the trigger. The first energy cannon exploded, the blue and white beam tore the air, predicted its dive arc, and accurately penetrated the core. The elite machine twisted, the purple flames of the explosion bloomed like fireworks, and the fragments fell down the cliff, causing a small rock avalanche. The right aircraft reacted and green slurry bombs poured out, but Shihan had already turned around, used the wind direction of the canyon to fine-tune its attitude, and struck back with a killing blow. The gun beam swept through its cloak and hit the rear wing. Boom! The second elite plane crashed into the cliff, and the waves swallowed up its wreckage, and the waves splashed up a smelly green mist. The refreshing reversal made her laugh. Guantang, I have seen through your tactics. Outflank? Too old-fashioned. Her wisdom growth was revealed. It was no longer a blind rush with intuition, but a calculation integrating terrain and hostile maps, transforming from a novice to a tactician. The enemy group was shaken, and Guantang's signal roared, "Little insect, don't be complacent." But Shihan didn't stop. She locked on the green light warehouse, a supply station at the bottom of the canyon, pulsing with energy crystals, like the heart of the enemy. The damage to the mecha made every step creak, and hot oil dripped down his legs, making the rock sizzle. Chihua, divert the flow with all your strength. Kill it with one shot. Chihua gasped, injection. Shihan, you are my hero. We not only destroy it, but also rebuild the world, imagine. After the war, a park was built on the beach, children played, there was no artillery fire. There was only peace, and we guarded it together. Her words were like a warm current, deepening friendship, and Shihan's heart felt hot. Yes, together. For that world, open fire. The linked cannon was charged, and the blue light converged into a violent ball of light. Although the barrel was deformed, Chihua's optimization stabilized the heat. Shihan took aim and clicked. The giant cannon exploded, the energy beam swept across the canyon like thunder, and the roar that tore the air shook the eardrums. The beam hit the supply station directly, and the green light warehouse collapsed instantly. The chain explosion was like a volcano erupting, green flames shot into the sky, debris rained down, and the bottom of the canyon turned into a sea of fire. The enemy planes were in chaos, and Guantang's signal was intermittent, retreat, retreat. The ambush collapsed, and the team won while breathing. At this moment, Fumio's mecha shot out from the flank, sweeping away the remaining enemies with artillery fire, and rescued him in time. He landed, the hatch opened, and Scar's face was full of surprise. Shihan, you predicted Guantang's plan? And you also cooperated to destroy the supplies? Damn it, from the time I questioned you to now, I believe it. You have the seeds of leadership. His tone changed from harsh to trusting, and he patted her mecha, like an elder's affirmation. Shihan slid out of the cabin, her legs were weak, but her eyes were shining. Instructor, thank you. We are a team. The damaged body needed urgent repairs. Shuefen's remote signal was connected, and her face appeared in the holographic projection, and her work clothes were stained with oil. I've looked at the data. The damage is serious, but the paint can save the day. Remote guidance, add defensive patterns, energy reflection lines engraved on the silver-gray tone, integrated into Chihua's optimized diversion. In this way, the aftermath of the bombardment can strengthen the armor's durability and withstand the next ambush. Shihan, start the repair mode, and I will transmit the blueprint. On the screen, the lines were like silver snakes swimming around, the surface of the mecha glowed slightly, and the thermal cracks slowly healed. Shihan felt her strength return. Sister Shuefen, thank you. This painting looks like my shield. During the retreat, Chihua poked her head out of the car window, her short hair tousled by the wind. Shihan, the reconstruction I just talked about is not empty talk. When I was a child, my home was also destroyed, but my dream was to build a big greenhouse after the war and grow flowers by the seaside so that everyone could forget about the artillery fire. What about you? Me, let's achieve it together. Shihan held her hand, and friendship was like a tightrope. I was lost for my parents and for the world, but now, I am stronger. After the turning point, she regained her fighting spirit, and the cruelty of the war did not break her, but forged her. Returning to the base, the setting sun shone on the dome of the academy and the celebratory lights were turned on. The classmates gathered around and cheered. Shihan's team, destroy the supply depot. Heroes. Wenxiong raised his glass and smiled rarely. Cheers, for growth. Shihan responded with a smile, but his eyes were cast to the distant sea level. The shadow of Guantang's fleet has not disappeared, and a bigger storm is brewing. Chihua whispered, next time, we will be stronger. In the night wind, the low voice of the mecha was like a war song, indicating a new trial. Word count, 1256. The college's celebration banquet was brightly lit, the air was filled with the fruity aroma of synthetic wine and the crispy smell of barbecue, and laughter surged like waves. But in Shihan's mind, Guantang's taunting signal was still echoing, like a thorn, keeping her awake at night. The next morning, she arrived at the training ground early. The silver-gray painted mecha stood in the morning fog, with a faint blue light reflecting off the surface. Chihua rubbed her eyes and followed with her short hair messy and holding the upgrade blueprint in her hand. Shihan, did you sleep last night? That guy Guantang is targeting us, we need to work harder. Instructor Wenxiong said that today is a high-level simulation, specifically targeting his tactics. Fumio's footsteps came from the fog, and his heavy boots made a muffled sound on the ground. His scarred face lost the relaxation from last night, replaced by iron-like severity. Little girls, stop chatting. The academy upgrade training has started. The high-level simulation cabin is in place. This time I will be your opponent in person, the elite guard of the simulated Guantang. Ambush, outflank, and dividing troops to lure the enemy are all his signatures. Shihan, your intuition is good, but your skills still need to be polished. Chihua, keep up with the logistics optimization. Shuefen, monitor the body upgrade. In the center of the training ground, the high-end simulation cabin unfolded like a giant crystal, and the surrounding virtual environment warmed up. The border canyon reappeared, the wind and sand roared, and the sour smell of green slurry remaining on the rock wall seemed real. Shihan climbed into the cockpit, buckled her seatbelt, and felt the familiar electromagnetic field wrap around her body. She took a deep breath and started in sync. Memories of the ambush in the canyon came to mind, the damaged mecha, Chihua's shouts, Fumio's rescue. This time, she won't hesitate. Synchronization rate, come up. The numbers climbed, 80%. 85%. 90%. A warm current spreads like a second skin, and the nerves and the mecha are seamlessly integrated. Every gust of wind and the roughness of every rock are clearly transmitted to the consciousness. Joy flows like electricity, this is not driving, it is becoming. She felt like an extension of the mecha, the steel arms like her hands, and the energy cannon like the beating of her heart. From a timid recruit to a reliable warrior now, this fusion made her determined. I can protect her, it is no longer a dream. Unlock the agility module. Wenxiong's voice came from the communication, with a hint of testing. His simulated mecha, transformed into a personal guard of Guantang, with purple light shining on its surface, jumped down from the top of the canyon, hunting with its cloak, and making a scratching sound as its claws scratched the ground. Come on, Shihan. Guantang's tactics, first lure the enemy deep, and then divide the troops to attack. Your mecha has been upgraded, and the agility module doubles your speed, but if you can't control it, you will become a target. The enemy group surged out, 15 virtual elite machines spread out like a spider web, green slurry bombs poured from all directions, the air was filled with virtual acid mist, and the vision was blurred. Shihan's heartbeat quickened, but the joy of fusion outweighed the fear. She activated the agility module, fine-tuned the thrusters, and the mecha slid sideways like a swallow, avoiding the first wave of gunfire. The wind and sand hit her face, and the sand particles hit the armor like drizzle, quickly allowing her to predict the trajectory. The 3 units on the left wing were going to outflank him. "Chihua, artillery support," she shouted. Chihua operated quickly on the logistics terminal, his voice mixed with excitement, optimizing the trajectory. "My golden finger adjusts the beam bending to integrate with the wind direction, continuous energy cannon, sweep mode unlocked. Be careful with the heat, 90% synchronization will amplify the load." Wenxiong's simulator swooped in, and the claws of purple light went straight to her core. The simulator Guantang's roar echoed, "Little insect, try this move." Shihan's intuition flashed, the mecha spun around, and used the canyon rock wall to jump up. The agility module made the movements as smooth as a dance. The claw strike missed and hit the rock, splinters flying and dust choking his nose. She fought back and pressed the repeat button. The first energy cannon burst out, and the blue light curved and followed Chihua's optimized trajectory, bypassing the rock wall and hitting the flank of Fumio's aircraft. Sparks from the explosion flew everywhere, and his body staggered. He hummed in the communication, "Yes, but this is just the beginning. The enemy is surrounded." The virtual fleet simulation starts. A medium-sized enemy ship rises from the bottom of the canyon, with a green light shield pulsing, and elite aircraft hovering around it like guards. The artillery fire was like rain, and Shihan's mecha was surrounded. The agility module was pushed to the limit. As she dodged, she felt that her body and steel were one, and every turn was filled with the joy of freedom. The inner monologue is short but firm, "This is power, not destruction, but control." Synchronized 90% of the fusion, turning her from a girl into a warrior, reliable, courageous, and no longer in need of protection. She shouted, "Chihua, full trajectory guidance. Let's break it." Chihua's response was like a rhythm, "The trajectory network is unfolding." The gunfire bends to lock the weak point of the ship body, the shield node. 5 guns are fired in succession, energy is injected from me, and the thermal control is stable. The blue light gathered, and the muzzle pulsation accelerated. Shihan predicted the pulse wave of the enemy ship and jumped up quickly to avoid the torrent of green slurry, feeling the salty smell of the sea breeze seep into the cabin. Pull the trigger. The first shot curved its trajectory and hit the corner of the shield. The green light cracked like a spider web. The second and third rounds were fired in succession, sweeping away the surrounding elite machines. There were chain explosions, and debris poured down like a meteor shower, falling into the canyon with a muffled sound. The fourth shot penetrated the weak point, the ship's hull twisted, and fireballs shot into the sky. At the end of the fifth shot, the blue light tore through the core, the virtual fleet collapsed, and the remaining enemies were scattered. The refreshing sweep made the training ground tremble, and the data screen showed, "Record broken." The whole hospital's viewing area erupted in cheers, and the students shouted, "Shihan! Invincible!" The simulation ends, the hatch opens, and fresh air flows in to dilute the virtual smoke. Shihan slipped out, her legs still shaking with excitement, and her cheeks were hot. Wenxiong came closer and patted her shoulder, with a rare smile on Scar's face, "Little girl, 90% synchronized, as agile as a ghost. You have cracked 80% of Guantang's tactics. From panic to control, you have grown up. Chihua's optimization is the key, you two are a perfect match." Chihua rushed over and hugged her. Zhu Shihan said, "We worked together to defeat the fleet." The whole hospital was dumbfounded. "With your fusion, I feel the energy flowing like a living thing." Shihan smiled and hugged back, "Thank you, Chihua. Without your trajectory, I would still be spinning in circles. This joy is like the waves of my home, free and powerful." Shuefen came from the engineering area, her work clothes stained with oil, holding a painting spray gun in her hand, and the blueprint projection flashed in the air. "I heard that the record was broken. Come on, strike while the iron is hot and customize the paint upgrade. The silver-gray tone is good, but add some cool elements, lightning patterns, extending from the shoulder armor to the muzzle, blue and silver tones, symbolizing speed and power. Paired with the agility module, it has a great visual impact and will scare the enemy on the battlefield. It can also fine-tune the energy diversion and increase the gun's speed by 10%. She climbed onto the mecha, the spray gun buzzed, blue light outlined the pattern like lightning, and the air was filled with the fresh smell of metallic paint. Shihan touched the new paint and felt that the mecha came to life. Lightning is like my intuition, unparalleled in speed. Sister Shihan, thank you. This is not just an appearance, it is my symbol. The three of them chatted around the mecha, and their relationship was as tight as a tightrope. Wenxiong rarely shared old memories. I was like you back then. For the first time, I was 90% synchronized. I felt that the world had become smaller. But Guantang, he is not an ordinary enemy. His tactics always have backups. Chihua nodded, we will deal with it together. Shihan, you are a reliable warrior now, I believe in you. Shihan felt warm in her heart. From a lonely revenge to a pillar of the team, this growth made her eyes warm. With you, I am not afraid. Just as they were cleaning up, suddenly, the holographic warning screen lit up, flooding the training ground with red light. Border monitoring data flashed wildly. Guantang's fleet launched an attack. Dozens of elite aircraft broke into the coastline, and green gunfire bombarded the supply station. The flames of the explosion reflected the sea surface red, and a low roar came from the distance, like thunder approaching. Wenxiong's face turned livid. Damn it, he's serious. The border defense line is in emergency, and the whole hospital is on war alert. The students were running nervously, and the air was filled with the smell of panic and sweat. Shihan clenched his fists and stepped forward voluntarily. Instructor, I'll go. The agility module and paint are just in use. We can't let him destroy more. Wenxiong stared at her, hesitated for a moment, and nodded. Okay, little girl. Bring Chihua and Shihan for long-range support. The team is dispatched, the real battle is called, now. The hangar engine roared, and Shihan's mecha flashed blue and silver lightning and rushed towards the battlefield. The sea breeze roared, the smell of gunpowder smoke hit our faces, and the shadow of Guantang was close at hand. The sea breeze roared like a wild beast, mixed with the smell of scorched earth from distant explosions. Shihan's mecha took the lead in breaking out of the college's defense line. The blue and silver lightning paint flashed in the sun, piercing the sky like a living thunder. Behind them, Wenxiong's senior machine and Chihua's logistics vehicle followed closely. Shihan drove the engineering vehicle behind, her toolbox clanking. The communicator was filled with rapid breathing. Shihan, you lead the team. The border supply station has been lost. Guantang's vanguard troops have built a temporary fortress, and green gunfire blocks the coast. Don't charge hard, look for weaknesses. Wenxiong's tone rarely brought trust, and he changed from a strict instructor to a comrade in arms. Shihan gripped the joystick tightly, and the synchronization rate was firmly locked at 92%. The pulsation of the mecha was like her heartbeat, and the agility module made every step extremely light. The new paint is not only cool, the blue and silver lines fine-tune the energy diversion, faintly refracting light when the wind blows, blurring the edges like an invisibility cloak. She felt her morale ignite like a torch. She was no longer the girl hiding in the ruins, this was her battlefield, her team. Copy that, instructor. Let's go around the flank and cut in from the edge of the cliff. Chihua, monitor the energy network. Shihan, prepare to repair on site. Her voice was firm, and the taste of leadership flowed like electricity, making her back straight. The coastline has become a hell. Green slurry bombs are pouring like acid rain, the wreckage of the supply station is burning, the firelight reflects the red waves, and the air is filled with the pungent smell of molten water. The vanguard of Guantang built a fortress, a row of twisted metal barriers with a pulsating green light shield on the surface. Dozens of beetle-shaped enemy aircraft hovered behind, hunting in red cloaks. The invasion is medium-sized, and the shadow of the fleet presses over the sea level, like a huge mouth that is about to swallow everything. As the team approached the edge of the cliff, Shihan's intuition scanned like a radar. The enemy was about to outflank them, and 5 elite aircraft on the left wing were hidden in the fog, preparing for a pincer attack. Outflanking is coming. Under the cliff on the left, at 3 o'clock. She roared, the mecha's thrusters sprayed flames, and she slid sideways to dodge the first wave of green slurry. Enemy planes sprang out like spiders, claws scratching the ground with a scratching sound, and artillery fire locked on the logistics vehicle. Shihan predicts the trajectory. Their arcs are weird, but the wind direction will shift by 0.5 seconds. She jerked the joystick, and the mecha jumped up in the cliff wind. The blue and silver paint reflected the sunlight, blurring the figure for an instant, and shuttled like a ghost. The green slurry passed by, splashing acid mist on the rocks, and the fishy smell hit your nostrils. Counterattack. She pressed the burst button, and the pulse of the energy cannon accelerated. The first blue light curved and swept through, penetrating the core of the leading enemy aircraft. The explosion fireball shot into the sky, and debris rained down the cliff. When the second one came at her, she turned around to dodge, used her agility module to slide close to the ground, and blasted its sensors with a backhand shot, causing green liquid to splash everywhere. The third and fourth machines attacked together. She predicted the division of troops. The mecha rolled to avoid the claw net, the 2 cannons fired in unison, the blue light tore the air, and the 2 machines twisted and collapsed at the same time. The 5th station tried to escape. She intuitively caught the arc of its tail flame and struck the final blow. The gun beam penetrated the rear wing, the enemy plane crashed into the sea, and the waves engulfed the wreckage. The 5 machines were instantly destroyed, and the refreshing feeling of destruction came like a flood. Shihan laughed, elite style. That's it. The team's morale was at the peak, and Wenxiong's communication heard a low roar. Well done, little girl. Your prediction saved us, from novice to leader, just this step. But the battle did not slow down. The fortress shield pulsed, the green light turret turned, blasted a giant plasma beam, and hit Wenxiong's body directly. The shoulder armor melted, sparks flew everywhere, and his body staggered. Damn it, 30 mage. Shihan, cover my retreat. At the critical moment, Chihua's voice burst out, energy support is in place. My golden fingers are fully open, overload mode, linked injection. The logistics vehicle buzzed, blue energy flow poured into Shihan's mecha like a river, the crystal core heat wave rolled, and the barrel pulsated like a beating heart. Shihan felt that her strength had doubled, the blue and silver lines on the paint were glowing, and the flow direction was perfect. Chihua, hold on. We bombed it. She locked the base of the fortress, the weak point of the shield at the energy gathering point, and her intuition flashed. The plasma beam gap is 0.8 seconds. The mecha rushed forward, dodging the rain of cannons, and the sound of rocks being corroded by green slurry was endless. Pull the trigger, and the overloaded energy cannon explodes, the blue-white light ball expands, the thunder that tears the air shakes the earth, the beam penetrates the weak point, the shield shatters like glass, and the core of the fortress collapses. The chain explosions were like volcanoes, with green flames rising into the sky, and the remaining walls collapsing, crashing into the sea and setting off huge waves. The enemy's vanguard troops were in chaos, and several aircraft were swallowed up by the aftermath. At the climax of the reversal, Wenxiong gasped, Chihua, your support is the key. Shihan, I can see this change. You are no longer a follower, you are the core. His praise was like a warm current, deepening the team bond. Shihan's heart felt hot, but the joy was fleeting. In the field of vision, the wreckage of a supply truck was smoking, 2 logistics soldiers fell in a pool of blood, green slurry dissolved their uniforms, and the air was filled with the rusty smell of death. The casualties were like knives, and the flames of her home flashed through her mind, the corpses of her parents, silent accusations. Why? The war swallowed up everything. She was once lost and questioned the endless killing. But now, facing the blood, she whispered in her heart, it can't stop. Casualties are the price, but without a fight many more will die. I want to be the strongest and protect them, the team, the earth, and the unseen peace. Determination solidified like steel, synchronization rate increased slightly, she clenched her fist. For them, continue. Shihan's engineering vehicle rushed up, sparks from the welding gun flying. She climbed onto Shihan's mecha, and the scanner buzzed. The damage is serious, the barrel is overheated by 20%, and the shoulder armor has deep scratches. On-site repair, strengthen the invisibility effect of the coating. Add a nano-reflective layer, and upgrade the blue-silver pattern, which can blur 90% of the outline in the sun, making it difficult for enemy radars to lock. Chihua, help me stabilize the energy flow. Shihan said while spraying, the nanomist filled the air, and the cool metallic smell diluted the smoke. Shihan felt her body become lighter. Sister Shihan, thank you. This invisibility is like my determination, hiding my strength, waiting for the opportunity to explode. During the repair, the communication suddenly interfered, and a low taunt sounded, "Human bug, destroy my fortress?" Interesting. But the game has just begun. Guantang personally went into battle. His flagship mecha rose from the sea fog, as huge as a fortress, with its red cloak fluttering like a blood flag, and its claws of purple light pulsing at an astonishing speed. The climax of the chase breaks out, Guantang swoops down, huge claws sweep across, tearing apart the cliff, and rocks flying like cannonballs. Shihan's mecha leaps up, the stealth paint takes effect, the outline is blurred, and it avoids locking. Follow me, Guantang, she challenged. The leading team retreated, Fumio covered the flanks, and Chihua's energy network unfolded. Guantang's artillery fire was like a torrential rain, green slurry poured down, the sea surface boiled, and waves mixed with debris hit the face. Shihan predicted his arc, sprinting in a straight line and then turning. She maneuvered to dodge and used her invisibility to get close to the rock wall. The blue and silver lightning flashed, and the counterattack energy cannon grazed his cloak, leaving a scorch mark. Guantang roared, "Cunning little bug." He accelerated the chase and clawed at Chihua's car. Shihan swerved, the engineering vehicle bumped and the tools were scattered. Wenxiong shouted, "Shihan, lure him away. Let's turn him back." The team split up, and the battle situation was like a whirlpool. Shihan's mecha shuttled between the cliffs, the wind howled, and her invisibility made her like a shadow. She approached Guantang's weak point many times, but his shield was strong and the cannon beams backfired, forcing her to retreat. The chase continued, and the coast was filled with smoke. The remaining enemy troops tried to reorganize, but the team worked together to suppress them. Shihan's intuition caught Guantang's fatigue, the energy pulse was unstable. Chihua, overload again. Energy was injected, and the barrel was billowing with heat. She jumped up, her invisibility was released for a moment, and a burst of blue light hit Guantang's side shield. The cracks widened, his body staggered, and his red cloak was scorched black. Damn, retreat. Guantang growled, the flagship retreated, the sea fog engulfed the figure, and the vanguard troops collapsed. The team gasped and stopped, and with the sound of waves lapping on the shore, Wenxiong landed, repelled temporarily, the medium-sized invasion has stopped. But Guantang is targeting you, Shihan. The next wave will be stronger. Chihua poked his head out of the car window, his face pale but excited. We won this round. Your leader, shape painting, perfect. Shihan wiped her sweat and said, it's fixed, but it consumes a lot of energy. Return to base for supplies. Shihan slid out of the cabin door and looked at the sea level. The shadow of Guantang was faint. The pain of casualties transformed into determination, becoming the strongest is not for revenge, but to end all this. The engine roared low and the academy lights flashed ahead, but a bigger storm was already brewing. Word count, 1249. The lights from the college's hangars shine like stars, diluting the aftertaste of gun smoke on the coast. Shihan's mecha slid into the parking position. The blue and silver lightning paint was covered with dust and green paste residue. The propeller was still humming slightly, and heat waves rose up like a panting warrior. Wenxiong jumped down from his body, his scarred face covered with sweat and dirt. He patted Shihan's shoulder armor, and there was a muffled sound of metal in his rough palm. Little girl, you are leading the team well this time. But don't relax, the shadow of that bastard Guantang is still lingering over the sea. Go back and rest, there will be a joint exercise tomorrow, the old guys from the Allied forces are here, and they have to prove that our academy is not a vegetarian. Chihua jumped out of the logistics vehicle, her short hair blowing wildly in the wind. She rushed to Shihan and hugged her arm, her eyes bright with excitement. Shihan. Your invisible blitz just now stunned Guantang's flagship. My energy network was not optimized in vain. It feels like heart resonance when it is overloaded. Shihan smiled and slid out of the cockpit. His legs were still slightly weak, and the salty smell of the sea breeze was still lingering on the tip of his nose. Thanks to you. Instructor Wenxiong's cover, and Sister Xuefen's nanolayer. If I had done it alone, I would have become a honeycomb. The tacit understanding of the team was like a warm current, which made her look up from the isolated battle. For the first time, she felt that she was not alone. Xuefen was already waiting deep in the hangar, with her work clothes sleeves rolled up, her toolbox spread out like a battlefield, and her spray gun and scanner buzzing. She wiped the grease on her forehead, glanced at Shihan's mecha, and frowned. The damage is not light, the barrel is deformed by 5%, and the crack on the shoulder armor is 10 centimeters deep. Come on, it's time for full customization. The blue and silver tone is good, but you have to add a bit of personal touch. You said the sea of your home, right? Integrate into the blue. The pattern represents the blue sky and sea. It's not just a random drawing. This texture can optimize light refraction, increase the duration of invisibility by 20%, and also add energy reflection. The blue light will gather during the bombardment, increasing the power by 10%. On the battlefield, as soon as he saw this blue, he knew that you were Shihan, and the morale of his teammates was extremely high. Shihan nodded, his heart tightening. The sea at home, the last memory from 3 years ago, the low sound of waves crashing on the shore, the shadow of parents walking hand in hand. Now, it becomes the soul of the painting. She climbed up the ladder and touched the surface of the mecha. The rough touch felt like an old friend. Sister Xuefen, just do it. The blue wave pattern extends from the breastplate to the legs, like waves surging. Let it remember my roots. Xuefen smiled, started the spray gun, and the nano mist sprayed like blue gauze, filling the air with a cool metallic fragrance. The lines slowly took shape, undulating waves, outlines of silver, faint pulsating blue light, like living sea water swimming on the armor. Chihua came closer and projected data on the tablet. Wow, perfect. My energy system is connected. The blue lines can conduct heat and will not burn the tube when it is overloaded. Shihan, this mecha is now your clone. After the customization is completed, the mecha stands like a new baby, intertwined with blue, silver and blue, flashing echoes of home. Shihan sat in the cockpit and tried to synchronize, feeling a familiar warmth coming over her. The synchronization rate shot up to 95%. The blue lines pulsate, like waves caressing when the wind blows, and the nerve connections are smoother. She whispered, "Thank you everyone. This is not just a mecha, it is my oath." Wenxiong leaned against the wall and nodded rarely, "Looks like a legend. Little girl, practice tomorrow and use it to prove yourself." The next day, the joint exercise ground unfolded like a giant arena. Allied mecha teams drove in from afar, their engines roared and shook the earth, and the air was filled with the smell of diesel and ionization. The sun was dazzling, shining on the crater in the sand, reflecting dazzling light. The Allied commander, a middle-aged man with a beard, stood on a high platform, his eyes scanning over the freshmen of the college like an eagle. "Wenxiong, is your student okay? This simulation is a joint defense against the invasion of the virtual mothership. We have heard about Guantang's tactics, splitting troops, ambush, shielding the mothership. Shihan, right? I heard that you led the team to repel the vanguard, prove it to us. Shihan stood up straight. The blue-painted mecha stood out among the team, like a lighthouse in the waves. She nodded and said in a steady voice, Commander, we are ready. Chihua optimizes the energy, Instructor Fumio provides cover, and I take the main attack. The exercise started, and the virtual environment emerged like a tide, a vast sea battlefield, rolling waves, a huge mothership rising in the distance, a green light shield pulsing, and dozens of simulated enemy aircraft circling around like a swarm. Artillery fire poured out, and the first wave hit the Allied flank directly. Green slurry bombs exploded water columns and splashed up fishy mist. Disperse the formation. Shihan, lead the left wing. Wenxiong shouted, his mecha rushed forward and fired artillery fire at the enemy group. Chihua worked quickly at the logistics terminal, her short hair being blown by the wind, unfold the energy network. Shihan, your blue pattern diversion, the bombardment power is up. Shihan's mecha rushed forward, the agility module activated, the blue wave pattern flashed, and the invisible blurred edges. She predicted the enemy plane's trajectory, the swarm was going to outflank the logistics. Left wing, follow me. Dodge 3 o'clock. She ordered, her voice penetrated the communication, and the allied mecha followed, moving neatly. The feeling of leadership was like an electric current, turning her from a lone warrior to a central figure, and the weight of responsibility surged in her heart. The enemy group rushed towards them, claws tearing the air. Shihan turned around to dodge, and shattered the lead aircraft with one shot. The blue light gathered in waves, and the aftermath of the explosion reflected, sweeping both sides. The Allied soldiers exclaimed, this painting, the artillery fire is like a tsunami. Chihua laughed, that's my optimization. Instructor Wenxiong, look at Shihan's prediction, the wave just now avoided 80% of the firepower. Wenxiong snorted, but with a smile, the little girl's intuition, Chihua, and your network are invincible together. When I led the team, it was not so smooth. His interaction was like a bridge, bringing Chihua's enthusiasm and his severity closer, and the team bond was instantly strengthened. Chihua blushed and said, Instructor, you finally praised me. The three of us are a perfect match. Shihan felt her heart warm as she listened. From fighting alone to this tacit understanding, she felt that she had truly transformed, no longer a lone wolf of revenge, but a leader of protection. The battle reached its climax. The mothership's shields were fully opened, and the giant green pulp cannon was charged and aimed at the Academy formation. Shihan's intuition flashed, the weak point is in the lower layer of the shield, where the energy gathers. Chihua, full overload. Upgrade the energy cannon, linkage injection. The logistics buzzed, the blue energy flow poured in like a sea wave, the wave pattern pulsated and accelerated, and the barrel was billowing with heat but as steady as a rock. The Allied commanders shouted in the communication, be careful, that cannon can destroy half the detachment. Shihan took a deep breath, the mecha jumped up, the invisible paint blurred the figure, flashing through the rain of slurry, and the cold and wet touch of the waves hitting the armor was clear. Pull the trigger, the upgraded energy cannon explodes. The blue-white light ball expanded, gathered blue lines to reflect, and turned into a huge wave-like energy beam, and the thunder that tore the air shook the sea surface. The beam penetrated the weak point of the mothership, the shield shattered like glass, the core collapsed suddenly, the virtual explosion was like a volcano erupting, green flames shot into the sky, and the debris poured down like a meteor shower, flooding the entire battlefield. Destroy the ship with one shot. The training ground was silent for a moment, then burst into thunderous cheers. Allied soldiers gathered around, Shin Cannon. Shihan, are you a monster? The commander approached and held her hand, it's proven. Your leadership and the performance of the paint are recognized by our allied forces. Shihan slid out of the cockpit, with invincible self-confidence welling up in her chest, this power is not a talent, but the fruit of growth. The blue lines flicker, like home affirming her. She laughed, thanks to the team. Chihua, Wenxiong, thank you. Chihua rushed to hug her, we are invincible. Wenxiong patted her shoulder. Little girl, from follower to leader, that's it. The heat of the exercise has not yet dissipated, and the alarm bell suddenly blared in the base intelligence room. Shihan rushed in after Wenxiong, and the holographic screen flashed red. The encrypted signal was intercepted, and Guantang's voice came out intermittently. Large-scale attack launched. The mothership group gathered. Target, the core of the academy. Revealed the weakness of their paint. The intelligence officer's face was livid. Damn it, a mole? Or is it a trap by Guantang? His fleet is approaching the border, and its size is 3 times that of the Vanguard. 10 shield carriers, hundreds of elite aircraft. Tension was shrouded in a net, and the air was filled with the pungent smell of sweat and electromagnetic interference. Chihua bit her lip. Shihan, our blue pattern, is he targeting? Wenxiong clenched his fist. Get ready to fight. Shihan, lead the team to conduct reconnaissance. As night fell, Shihan returned to the dormitory alone, the image of the blue-painted mecha still flashing in her mind. She fell on the bed, exhausted, and fell into sleep. In the dream, the waves lap at the beach of my home, my parents' laughter echoes, and the sun shines on the blue sky, like eternal warmth. But suddenly, the green liquid poured out, and the sea of fire swallowed everything. Her mother held her hand. Shihan, live on. Her father stood in front of her. Guard this sea. Sadness came like a tide, and she cried in her dream, feeling powerless like a shackle. But blue waves emerged, wrapping the afterimage and transforming the flame into blue light. Her parents' voices softened. Sadness is not the end, it is motivation. Become the strongest and rebuild your home. She woke up with tears stained but clenched her fists. Inner transformation, no longer a prisoner of pain, but the embodiment of fuel. This dream deepened her determination to fight for rebirth. In the early morning, the alarm blared harshly, and the red light flooded the base. Invasion. The Guantang fleet breaks through the defense line, and everyone is ready for war. On the sea level, green shadows pressed down on the border, and the roar of the storm was approaching. Shihan rushed to the hangar, where the blue-patterned mecha was pulsing, waiting for her. The red light of the alarm flooded the hangar like blood, and the roar of the engines and the shouts of the soldiers intertwined into a chaotic war song. Shihan rushed into the cockpit, and the mecha painted with blue and silver waves suddenly came to life. The blue patterns on the chest plate pulsed like ocean waves, and a familiar electromagnetic field enveloped the whole body. She buckled her seatbelt, and her synchronization rate shot up like a rocket, 95%. Chihua, Wenxiong, gather. We break into the enemy's rear and go straight to the energy center. Shuefen, remote support is in place. Her voice burst out from the communicator, as firm as artillery fire. The tacit understanding of the team made her feel like she was the soul of this steel behemoth. Wenxiong's mecha slid out first, his scarred face flashed in the holographic projection, and he growled, "Little girl, this time it's a real sword." Guantang's fleet is pressing forward, and the sea level is all green. The energy center is at the fortress at the bottom of the cliff. Destroying it will paralyze their thrusters. But the enemy planes on the road are like swarms of insects, so don't act like a hero. Chihua's logistics vehicle followed, and the short-haired girl's voice trembled with excitement. Poetry high, I have preloaded the optimization module. The blue lines have perfect diversion, and the energy cannon's cooling speed is accelerated by 15%. The 3 of us, go. Shuefen's engineering terminal was connected, and a greasy face appeared on the screen. Listen, team, I'm monitoring the whole place. Overheating of the gun barrel is a hidden danger. I remotely upgraded the nanocooling layer injection, which doubled the duration. Shihan, your painting increases morale. Remember, the blue wave means not falling. As the team broke out of the college's defense line, the sea breeze whipped like a whip, mixed with the smell of burnt earth from distant artillery fire and the salty smell of the waves. The coastline has become a sea of fire, green slurry bombs are pouring like acid rain, the remains of allied mechas are scattered on the beach, and the fragments sparkle with blood in the sun. The alien army is pressing down on the territory, dozens of shield carriers are occupying the sea surface, the green light pulses like the breathing of a giant beast, and the elite fleet hovers like black clouds. Shihan led the team around the cliff, and the mecha's footsteps crushed the gravel, making a muffled sound. "Fly at low altitude and avoid the radar net," she ordered, her intuition pricking like a needle. The enemy patrol was 3 kilometers away, patrolling in an arc, and the weak point was in the blind area of the turn. The first wave of interceptions came. 8 beetle-shaped enemy planes emerged from the fog, hunting in red cloaks, claws clawing at the air and making tearing sounds. The green slurry bomb locked on the logistics vehicle, and Chihua screamed, "Shihan, intensive firepower. Optimization activated, energy network deployed." Shihan's mecha rushed forward, the blue and silver paint refracted the light in the sun, and the morale bonus was like an electric current flowing into the nerves. The shouts of her teammates echoed in her head. Wenxiong's cover, Chihua's enthusiasm, and Xuefen's determination made her feel omnipotent. The synchronization rate increased slightly to 97%. "Fumio, suppress the right wing. I'll clear the left," she shouted. The mecha spun and jumped up, the agility module was pushed to the limit, and the blue waves flashed like a tsunami sign. Surrounded by enemy planes, 3 elites attacked her core, their claws extended like hooks. Shihan predicts the trajectory. Their combined attack has a 0.3-second delay. She slid sideways to dodge, and the first claw attack missed the target and hit the cliff, sending stone fragments flying like rain. Pull the trigger. The energy cannon pulses, the blue light gathers into wavy patterns, the reflection is enhanced, and a burst of fire bursts out. The beam tore through the air and roared like thunder. The core of the first enemy plane was shattered and green flames shot into the sky. The second one tried to circle back. She took advantage of the wind to roll and fired backhand. The gun beam bent and penetrated the cloak, and the explosion fragments hit the sea like meteors. The third one dived, her intuition flashed, the mecha slid close to the ground, the blue paint blurred the figure, and her morale was so high that she performed exceptionally. The heat wave from the muzzle receded, Xuefen's cooling layer took effect, and she fired the third shot straight through the sensor. The enemy plane twisted and crashed into the cliff, and the waves swallowed up the wreckage. After reversing the siege, she felt refreshed like a tide. Shihan laughed, "That's it. The blue wave will never die." Wenxiong's artillery fire swept from the right wing and smashed 2 units. "Little girl, the paint boost is so fierce. Is your morale high?" Chihua said excitedly. "Shihan, your prediction is to rescue the car. The energy is 80% left, continue." The team rushed to the bottom of the cliff, and the energy center emerged, a green light dome, a pulsating crystal core like a heart, and a fleet of escort aircraft circling. Guantang's flagship mecha stood in the center, its huge body with a red cloak fluttering, and its purple claws buzzing. His low taunting seeped out from the jamming signal. "Shihan, Xiaochong is finally here. Your blue wave is interesting, but I am guarding the center. Try it head-on." The first confrontation breaks out. The Guantang mecha swooped down, speeding like a ghost, its giant claws swept across, tearing apart the cliff, and rocks flew towards the team like cannonballs. Shihan's heartbeat accelerated, but the pulsating waves of the blue paint made her feel like the sea of her home was pushing waves behind her. The morale bonus turned into calmness, and she intuitively predicted his maneuver, a sharp turn after a straight line. The blind spot was on the left wing. "Chihua, optimize the beam bending. Wenxiong, cover my advance." She roared. The mecha jumped up, avoiding the claw net. The sound of wind was whistling mixed with the sour smell of green pulp. Guantang's guards, 6 purple light elites, surrounded them like a net, and artillery fire poured down. Shihan predicted the arc and fired continuously with the energy cannon. The first shot locked on the leading guard, the blue light bent and penetrated the shield, shot down the core, and exploded with purple flames. The second shot swept the 2 right-wing machines, the wave pattern reflection was enhanced, and the gun beam rolled over like a tsunami. The 2 machines collapsed at the same time, and the fragments hit the ground with a muffled sound. Guantang roared, cunning. His giant claws counterattacked, and the green pulp beam hit Shihan's shoulder armor directly. The blue paint reflected part of the heat wave, but cracks appeared, and the pain was like burning nerves. The synchronization rate dropped to 90%, and she gritted her teeth, damn it, but I can see through you. Chihua's voice was urgent, counterfire is coming. The optimization system is fully activated, the energy network distorts their locking to avoid the rain of slurry. Shihan, turn left 15 degrees, my curved trajectory is in place. The logistics vehicle buzzed, blue energy flow was injected, and Shihan felt the cooling layer of the barrel pouring in like a glacier, and the heat wave retreated. She yanked the joystick, and the mecha turned left. The green slurry passed by and splashed acid mist on the edge of the cliff. The third burst of fire exploded, predicting Guantang's turning blind spot, hitting the two guards behind him. Blue light tore the cloak, explosions chained like fireworks, and the remaining machine fell. When the last guard came at her, she turned to dodge and took advantage of the situation to fight back. The cannon beam penetrated her claws, green liquid splashed everywhere, and the fishy smell hit her nostrils. Guantang's body staggered, and the red flag was scorched black. Human, you are worthy of this battle. He charged up the cannon and gathered purple light, but Shihan had already locked onto the center. Chihua, overload with all your strength. Wenxiong, suppress him. Wenxiong's mecha came out from the flank, and artillery fire swept Guantang's flank. Little girl, come on. This old guy's weakness is the energy gathering. Chihua shouted, inject overload, stabilize the cooling layer, fire 4 cannons in succession, destroy the center. Shuefan accessed remotely, the nano upgrade has taken effect, and the barrel's heat resistance has doubled. Shihan, with blue wave blessing, charge. Climax after climax, Shihan's mecha rushed forward, its blue paint flashing like a sea god descending, and her morale made her transcend the pain. Pull the trigger, and the overloaded energy cannon explodes, the blue-white light ball expands, gathers wave patterns, and reflects into a huge energy beam. The thunder that tears the air shakes the bottom of the cliff. The first shot penetrated the shield, and the green dome cracked. The second and third shots in succession swept away the remaining guards, and the green flames exploded into the sky. The fourth shot hit the crystal core directly, the center collapsed, the pulsation stopped, and the green light receded like a tide. Guantang's flagship trembled and its propeller failed. He roared, this is just the beginning. But the enemy's position wavered, the green gunfire of the army weakened, and the shadow of the fleet on the sea began to retreat. A refreshing sense of destruction filled his chest, and Shihan laughed, Guantang, your invasion ends here. But the joy was fleeting, there was a muffled explosion from the cliff, and the self-destruction of a disabled enemy aircraft affected Wenxiong's cover position. His body's shoulder armor melted, and the communication was interrupted. Shihan, withdraw. Casualties, too many. In the field of vision, the Allied rear supply lines were broken, and several mechas fell into the green slurry. The screams of the soldiers echoed, and the smell of rust and blood was thick in the air. Chihua's body was also scratched by plasma bombs. She gasped, Shihan, the logistics damage is 20%, we have to run. Shuefan's voice was anxious, squad, enemy reinforcements are coming. The remote upgrade can only last 10 minutes. I will mark the retreat route. Shihan's heart felt like a knife, and her mind flashed through the sea of flames of her home, the corpses of her parents and countless innocent faces. The cost of this war, blood, limbs, broken oaths, hit like a hammer. She whispered, her internal monologue short but profound, no more people can die. I realized that this was not revenge, but the end. The invasion must stop. I vow to become the strongest and protect this blue ocean without leaving any regrets. Determination surged like a blue wave, and she shouted, Wenxiong, hold on. Chihua, optimize the escape route. We retreat, but this is just the beginning. The team worked together to break out. Wenxiong blocked the rear and suppressed the pursuers with artillery fire. Chihua twisted the energy network to avoid the rain of counter-slurry, and the wheels creaked as they ran over the gravel. Behind Shihan's palace, the blue paint flashed and fired continuously to clear the way. The cliff wind howled and the smoke filled the air, but the shadows of casualties were like shackles. The two allied soldiers remained on the beach forever. The lights of the college loomed on the return route, the green shadow of Guantang receded, and the waves on the sea lapped at the wreckage, like a low elegy. Shihan clenched the joystick, her eyes flickering firmly. Next time, I will end it all. Word count, 1251. The lights in the hangar were like tired stars, shining on Shihan's mecha. The blue and silver wave paint was covered with corrosion marks of green paste, like ugly scars. The air was filled with the burnt aroma of molten metal and the salty sea breeze. The low roar of waves crashing on the shore could be heard faintly in the distance, mixed with the low-pitched curses of the soldiers and the moans of the wounded. Shihan slid out of the cockpit, his legs as heavy as lead, and the heat of the gunfire still lingered on his shoulders. She looked at the cracks in the mecha, and her heart tightened. This steel companion saved them, but it also swallowed up too many lives. Fumio's body stopped beside him, his shoulder armor melted into twisted remains. There was a muffled sound when he jumped down, and his scarred face was covered with dirt. Little girl, don't be dazed yet. After repairing it, we have to fight back. Guantang's bastard fleet has retreated, but the outpost is still gritting its teeth on the edge of the cliff, digging traps for us. Chihua ran out of the logistics vehicle, her face pale and her short hair stuck to her forehead. She held the damaged tablet and gasped, Shihan, 3 lines of the energy network are broken, but I can repair it. When we retreated just now, I saw that the armor shield of Instructor Wenxiong was broken. Are you okay? Shihan held her hand and felt the trembling in the palm of her hand like her own heartbeat. I'm fine. Chihua, your overload saved us. If you hadn't distorted the rain, we would have been reduced to scum long ago. The warmth of the team diluted the shadow of the casualties, allowing her to raise her head from the pain of loneliness. Shuefen had already rushed in, her work clothes stained with fresh oil. She pushed Shihan away and climbed up the ladder. The scanner buzzed across the surface of the mecha. The damage is serious, the barrel is deformed by 15%, and the blue pattern diversion is interrupted. Come on, complete remodeling, this time the legendary silver-blue style is finalized. It is not painted casually, the nano layer is fully covered, the silver and blue are intertwined like Poseidon armor, reflecting 30% of energy, and the invisibility continues to double. The wave pattern is upgraded to a lightning blue wave, which gathers a halo during bombardment and improves the morale of the whole team. On the battlefield, when you see this silver blue, you know that hope is not extinguished. Shuefen started the spray gun as she spoke, spraying blue and silver mist like sea mist, and the cool smell of metallic paint filled the air. Shihan touched the breastplate and felt that the old wounds were healing, the cracks were slowly closing, the blue waves were pulsing like living creatures, and the silver edges were as sharp as lightning. Sister Shuefen, this is like the sea in my homeland, which will never dry up. Chihua came closer and his eyes lit up. Wow, the data shows that morale is increased by 20%. My optimization system is connected, and the energy flow is smoother. Shihan, put it on, let's fight back. Wenxiong leaned against the wall and gave a rare smile. Little girl, this painting suits you. From the timid freshman to the current leader, I have seen it. After it is repaired, the entire academy will be at your disposal, counterattack the Guantang outpost and disrupt their ambush. After the repair is completed, the mecha stands as if it were reborn, the legendary silver-blue style flashes under the light, the blue waves are like the wrath of the sea god, and the silver light is like an indestructible shield. The whole team of soldiers gathered around, hope rising in their eyes. Someone whispered, Shihan's mecha is so handsome. With her here, we will definitely win. Morale rose like a tide, and Shihan felt a warm current seeping from the paint into her nerves. She was no longer a lonely girl, which was the sign of a hero. She nodded and said in a loud voice, everyone listens to the order. Instructor Wenxiong, Chihua, Shuefen, we are taking the lead. The team assembles and counterattacks the outpost on the cliff. We cannot let Guantang breathe, break up their formation, and avenge the casualties. The soldiers responded in unison, the engine roar shook the hangar, and the smell of gunpowder smoke became thick again in the air. The team rushed out of the base. The sea wind was as wild as a war drum, mixed with the muffled sound of green pulp cannons in the distance. The cliffside outpost has become a steel fortress, twisted metal barriers surround the green light crystal core, dozens of enemy aircraft hover like dark clouds, and red cloaks hunt in the wind. Guantang's flagship was hidden behind, the purple light pulsating like a mockery. Shihan led the team forward, the legendary silver-blue mecha refracted blue light in the sun, and the morale bonus made the team move in unison. Disperse the formation. Qihua, preload the energy network. Wenxiong, suppress the flanks. I'll take the core directly. She ordered, her intuition was like lightning scanning, the enemy's weak point was in the blind spot on the left wing, and the ambush machine was hidden in the fog. The enemy group rushed towards them, the first wave of 10 beetles stretched out their claws, and green slurry bombs rained down. Shihan took a deep breath and started simultaneously. The blue sea of my home, the shadows of my parents, and the pool of blood of casualties appeared in my mind, pain turned into fuel, and nerve connections surged into steel like waves. The numbers soared, 90%, 95%, 100%. Full value synchronization. A majestic power descended like a god, and she felt like she was the incarnation of a mecha. Every gust of wind caressing and every gravel trembling merged into her will. The world slows down and the trajectory of enemy planes is as clear as prophecy. Full value, like a god. She murmured, her heart transformed, from a timid girl to a hero who controls her destiny. At this moment, she embraced this transformation. The mecha exploded, its silver blue paint flashed with a blue halo, and its edges became invisible and blurred. She anticipated the dive of the first enemy plane, slid sideways to dodge, and hit the ground with her claws, sending stone fragments flying like fireworks. Pull the trigger and fire multiple energy cannons. The blue and white beams converged on the silver-blue lines, and the reflection was enhanced. The first 3 rounds burst out, and the thunder that tore the air shook the cliff and penetrated the ambush machine on the left wing. The beam of light rolled past like a tsunami, and the cores of the 3 enemy aircraft were shattered. Green flames shot into the sky, and debris poured down like rain. Following up in the second round, she spun and jumped up, synchronized at full value to make her movements like miracles, bending the cannon beam in a predicted arc, sweeping the 5 stations in the middle. The explosions chained like dominoes, and her red cloak turned into fire flakes and flew away. In the third round, he went straight to the barrier. The blue light penetrated the shield, the pulsation of the crystal core was interrupted, the outpost fortress collapsed, and the green light receded like a tide. The destruction was like coming from a god, and a sense of pleasure filled his chest. Shihan laughed, Guantang, your outpost is reduced to ashes. The team cheered and their morale was through the roof. Chihua's voice burst out from the communication, Shihan, amazing operation. My energy network explodes, full support, overload injection into your gun barrel, unlimited thermal control. The logistics vehicle buzzed, and the blue energy flow poured in like an exploding river. Chihua's golden fingers played their best, distorting the enemy's radar, and the energy network blocked the rain of plasma like an invisible shield. The team's tacit understanding is complete. Chihua's support allows Shihan's bombardment to be uninterrupted, the blue wave pattern is perfect, and the heat wave of the barrel turns into power. Fumio charged out from the flank and suppressed the remaining enemies with artillery fire. Although his body was damaged, his tone was full of shock. Little girl, full synchronization. You have transformed from that crying girl to this. I have witnessed that this is the birth of a hero. His praise is like hammering iron, deepening the bond, and the 3 of them work together as one, disintegrating the enemy formation like a torrent. The outpost collapsed and the remnants of the enemy dispersed, but Guantang's flagship approached, its claws of purple light pulsing. He interfered with the signal access and whispered in a voice like a poisonous snake, human bug, your silver and blue are interesting. But the invasion conspiracy has been completed. We not only destroy the Earth, but also steal your synchronization technology. There is a mole at the core of the Academy, and the data has been leaked. The army is about to attack and go straight to your heart. The screen flickered, and a blurry figure, a ghost in the Academy. The green light swept across the hangar blueprint. The turning point was like a lightning strike, and Shihan's heart sank. The mole. This explains Guantang's precise ambush and the source of casualties. Qihua exclaimed, Shihan, intelligence room. Have we been betrayed? Wenxiong shouted, damn it, retreat first. But this conspiracy cannot be ignored. Shihan tightened her grip on the joystick, and the synchronized aftertaste of full value calmed her down. There are waves in my heart, from the powerlessness of a girl to the responsibility of a hero. This change is like a blue wave washing away fear. She whispered, Guantang, you are wrong. This is not the end, it is our starting point. I will go to the core, destroy your conspiracy, and end everything for my homeland and my teammates. Determined like steel, she turned to the team, go back to the base, check the ghost. But the counterattack will not stop. We assemble the entire army and go straight to the core of the fleet. Heroes are not born, they are made through fighting. The team broke through and returned, with the cliff wind howling and the Academy lights flashing in front. The base broadcast suddenly exploded, and Wenxiong's voice echoed throughout the area, everyone assemble. On the eve of the decisive battle, Shihan leads the team to counterattack the general attack of Guantang. Silver and Blue Legend, protect the Earth. The engine roared like a war song, the green shadow of the sea level pressed down on the environment, and the footsteps of the storm were close at hand. Word count, 1248. The Academy's training ground stood like a steel fortress in the night, with the low roar of the engine intertwined with the clang of metal collisions. The air was filled with the pungent smell of engine oil mixed with the roar of distant waves. The red warning light pulsed like a heartbeat, the soldiers' footsteps were hurried, and the aftertaste of sweat and gun smoke still lingered around everyone. Shihan stood on the high platform, with the legendary silver-blue mecha parked behind him. The blue waves flashed slightly under the light, like the immortal ocean spirit. She took a deep breath and looked at the assembled team below, 20 mechas arrayed neatly, the pilots' faces glowing faintly under their helmets, their eyes full of tired but determined fire. Listen, everyone, Shihan's voice was loud, piercing the night wind, Guantang's general attack is coming. We have figured out his tactics, dividing the troops to lure the enemy, shielding the mothership to suppress the formation, and blocking the retreat with green gunfire. But we have a blue wave, not a paint, but our will. Sharing experience, prediction is the key. The arc of the enemy aircraft is weird, but the wind direction and terrain will reveal the blind spot. After Chihua's optimization, the energy cannon interval has been shortened by 20%, and one hit is sure to hit. In the team, a young pilot raised his hand and said nervously, Captain Shihan, how do you practice full synchronization? We can't keep up with your predictions. Shihan smiled, walked off the stage, and patted his shoulder armor. The metal sounded like a drum. It's not natural, it's hard work. 3 years ago, I was hiding in the ruins, unable to watch my home burn down. Now, every battle is a classroom. Focus your nerves, feel the mecha like an arm, the touch of the wind, and the rhythm of the sea, all integrated into your intuition. Practice, simulate a cliff battle, predict my attack. She jumped into the cockpit, and the synchronization rate instantly increased by 95%. The mecha rushed forward, its blue and silver paint reflecting the night light, and sliding sideways like a ghost. The pilots followed, and the energy cannon was fired. The blue light cut through the darkness, and the sparks of the explosion made everyone's faces red. Yes, that's it. Instructor Wenxiong taught me that the battlefield is ruthless, but the team is affectionate. Cover each other, and reversal can happen in an instant. Wenxiong walked from the side, his scarred face looking more rough in the shadow of the lamp. He nodded and said, the little girl is right. When I led the team, I lost countless times. But you have Shihan's blue wave and Chihua's energy network. We are not scattered sand. Chihua poked his head from the logistics vehicle, his short hair was messed up by the wind, and the tablet in his hand flashed the data stream. She waved excitedly, optimization is in place. The entire team's energy system is connected, my golden fingers are fully opened, the crystal core circulation is accelerated, and the thermal control nanolayer of the gun barrel is injected. Shihan, your silver and blue lines are used as a blueprint, and each mecha is equipped with a mini version. Shihan, the gas bonus is 10%, and the invisibility is continuously doubled. Try it, continuous fire test. The team's mecha buzzed, the blue light pulsed like a heartbeat, and a round of collective artillery bombarded the virtual shooting range. The explosion chain was like a fireworks feast, with debris flying and heat waves hitting the face. The pilots cheered, that's awesome. Sister Chihua, thank you. Chihua blushed and smiled, we are a team, let's win together. The training was in full swing, and Shihan's heart felt warm. She recalled her growth path, from being a freshman in the academy, with a surprise of 92% synchronization rate, to being at the bottom of the cliff with 100% full value. That's not luck, it's the reversal of every panic and the tempering of every casualty. The fire sea of home is no longer a shackles, but the source of blue waves. She whispered, I firmly believe that victory is in sight. For our parents and for you, we will end this invasion. But before she could finish her words, a green light suddenly lit up on the sea level in the distance, and the radar shrieked ear-piercingly. The holographic warning screen flashed a red alert, sudden attack. Guantang Guard's team breaks through the defense line, target training ground. 15 units, elite level. The night sky was like tearing, green slurry bombs poured down like a meteor shower, the first wave hit the team's flank directly, the acid mist of the explosion filled the air, and the fishy smell filled the air. Ready for war. The team disperses. Shihan shouted, her heart beating like a war drum. Her mecha rushed out first, the silver-blue paint shining in the green light like a Poseidon armor, the blue waves pulsating, and the morale bonus rushed into the nerves of the entire team like electricity. The drivers kept up and moved very neatly. Chihua, protect the energy net. Wen Xiong, cover the logistics. Guantang's flagship mecha rose from the fog, its huge body red cloak hunting, purple light claws buzzing, his low taunting echoed the communication, little insect, a gift on the eve of the decisive battle. I will tear your blue wave to pieces. The guard's fleet was surrounded like a spider web, green slurry artillery fire blocked the retreat, and the rock wall at the edge of the training ground was corroded and hissed. Shihan intercepted with a single machine and rushed straight to Guantang. The full value synchronized like the emergence of divine power, and she felt that every tremor of the night wind and every arc of the green liquid was under her control. Come on. She growled, and the mecha leaped up. The silver-blue paint reflected the moonlight, making it invisible and blurry at the edges, like a ghostly blue wave passing through. Guantang's huge claw swept forward, tearing the air and letting out thunder. Her prediction was perfect, the claw strike missed the target for 0.2 seconds. Spin around to dodge, the blue wave pattern gathers blue light, and the energy cannon pulses and accelerates. Pulling the trigger, the first overloaded cannon burst out. The blue-white beam tore through the night sky like a tsunami and penetrated Guantang's flank shield. The beam reflected silver and blue lines, increasing its power. The shield shattered like glass, the flagship body staggered, the claws of purple light were blackened and smoking, the aftermath of the explosion shook the earth, and debris rained down on the edge of the training ground. Heavy hit. Shihan laughed, feeling refreshed like a tide. But reinforcements surged in, and 10 elite guards rushed towards them. They were surrounded by claw nets and green slurry bombs were as dense as a net. She predicted the trajectory, the 3 stations on the left circled behind, and the 5 stations on the right rushed straight ahead. The mecha slides sideways, its paint shines on the battlefield, the blue wave halo spreads, and the morale encourages the team to fight back. Continuous rounds of energy cannons poured out, and Chihua's optimization shortened the interval. The first round of 3 rounds curved and swept the left wing. The predicted arc was accurate, and the blue light penetrated the core. The three machines twisted and collapsed at the same time, and the green flames soared into the sky like fireworks. Following up in the second round, she took advantage of the wind to roll. Her invisible paint confuses the enemy's radar, and she blasted the right wing with 5 backhand shots. The explosions chained like dominoes, and the enemy fragments fell to the ground with a muffled sound. The last 2 tried to escape, and she intuitively caught the tail flames, ending the direct blast of the cannon beam, and the night sky lit up with blue and white fireballs. After repelling the reinforcements, the training ground was silent for a moment, and the team burst into cheers. Captain Shihan, divine prediction. Lan Lang is invincible. Guantang's flagship retreated, the purple light dimmed, and he roared, "Little insect, retreat temporarily. But the general attack will make you regret it." The green shadow retreated into the sea fog, but the attack did not end. The remaining enemy turned to the logistics, and the green liquid directly hit Chihua's car. At the critical moment, Fumio's mecha shot out from the flank, and his scarred face was livid in the projection. "Little girl, hold on. I'm here." His artillery fire suppressed the 2 remaining enemies. Although the shoulder armor was damaged, his movements were smart and he cleared the way with 1 shot. Shuefan's engineering vehicle rushed up, long-range nano spray filled the air like blue mist. She shouted, "Backup is in place. The entire team's energy layer is upgraded, inject cooling network, reverse thermal control. Shihan, your blue wave is the core, I fine-tune the reflection, and the aftermath of the bombardment will bite back the enemy's shield." The engineering terminal buzzed, blue light spread, the remaining enemy's green slurry was distorted and reflected, the scorching heat backfired on themselves, and the 2 machines exploded into fireballs. After reversing the situation of the local battle, the team reorganized. Wenxiong landed and patted the Shihan mecha. "Well done, little girl. Your prediction saved the situation, and Shuefan and I just made last hits. But the leader, you are already the strongest." Shuefan looked out of the car window, with a smile on her greasy face. The paint upgrade was successful. The silver-blue reflection made me. They fought back and Chihua's net was as stable as a rock. "You 3, the legends of the academy." Chihua gasped, "Shihan, thank you for intercepting Guantang. If it weren't for you, we would have dispersed long ago." The support of the team is like a tightrope, which strengthens Shihan's status. From newcomer to leader, she feels the responsibility is like a blue wave lifting the whole team. The pilots gathered around and said with admiration, "Captain, I will rush with you without any regrets." After the attack receded, the night wind blew away the smoke, and Shihan slid out of the cockpit, her chest heaving. Inwardly reviewing the growth path, from the immaturity of simulated battles to the full-value synchronization at the bottom of the cliff, every step is stepped on the blood of casualties. The flames of home, the shadows of parents, and the shouts of teammates all turned into the fire of belief in victory. She whispered, "I once cowered and was lost in pain. But now, I am Lan Lang. Victory is not a dream, it is the artillery fire in our hands. Guantang, your conspiracy is over." Determined as steel, she turned to the team, "Repair for an hour, and march with all the main force. Go straight to the core of the fleet and protect the Earth." The engine roared again, and the green shadow on the sea level came closer. The main mechas set off in formation, and blue light surged into the storm like a tide. Guantang's general offensive is ready. Word count, 1246. The sea surface was like a boiling furnace, with acid rain from green slurry bombs pouring down, and the stench of spray mixed with metal fragments assaulting your nostrils. Shihan's legendary silver-blue mecha took the lead in breaking out of the Academy's defense line. The blue waves pulsed in the night like the wrath of the sea god. The engine roar shook the water and raised a huge wave of white foam. 20 mechas from the rear team followed closely, the blue light spread like a tide, and the morale bonus filled each driver's communication with a low roar, "Follow Captain Shihan. The blue wave will never die." When Xiong's senior mecha pressed down on the flanks of the formation, its shoulder armor was broken but its muzzle flashed. Chihuahua's logistics vehicle was bumping in the waves, and the tablet data flowed like a crazy river. Shihan's engineering vehicle was behind, with nano spray preloaded, ready for on-site reversal. The whole team listens to the order. Break into the core area and target the Guantang mothership. Shihan's voice burst out from the communicator, as firm as a bombardment. She gripped the joystick tightly, and the synchronization rate was firmly locked at 98%. The silver-blue paint reflected the moonlight, and the invisible edges were blurred, making enemy radar as helpless as catching fog. The decisive battle broke out. The core of the alien fleet was like a giant beast occupying the sea level. Dozens of shield carriers were pulsing with green light, the elite fleet was hovering like black clouds, and the green pulp firepower network blocked the sea area. The first wave of interceptions came like a tidal wave. 20 enemy beetle planes sprang out of the fog, claws clawing at the waves and making a sound of tearing water. Chihua, escort the energy network. Wenxiong, sweep the left wing. Shihan ordered. His intuition was like a lightning scan. The weakness of the defense network was on the lower level of the mothership, and the energy gathering point was exposed for 0.5 seconds. Chihuahua's voice was urgent but excited. Roger. The energy lock is activated, my golden fingers are fully opened, distorting their shield frequency, and the blue wave pattern is used as a guide to locate the weak points of the three motherships. The logistics vehicle buzzed, and the blue energy flow poured into the entire team like a sea current. Shihan felt the heat wave of the gun barrel recede, and the cooling layer poured in like a glacier. The mecha rushed forward. She predicted the dive arc of the first enemy plane and slid sideways to dodge. The green liquid grazed the shoulder armor, and the acid mist splashed and stung. Pull the trigger and fire the energy cannon continuously. The blue and white beams converged with silver-blue lines, and the reflection was enhanced. The first shot tore through the air and penetrated directly into the core of the leading enemy aircraft, with green flames rising into the sky like a volcano. The second shot followed, sweeping the two flanking machines in a curved trajectory. The explosion chain fragments rained down on the sea, and the waves boiled. The third shot locked on the lower layer of the mothership's defense network. Blue light penetrated the green shield, the convergence point collapsed, and the shield of a mothership shattered like glass, revealing the core pulsation. The first ship is exposed. The whole team follows up. Shihan shouted. The silver-blue mecha was like a battlefield symbol, shining blue waves in the green light. The morale bonus made the team even more powerful. The pilots shouted, "Captain's cannon. Let's go." Under the ultra-high synchronization rate, she felt that the world was slowing down. The trajectory of each green paste was like a prophecy, and the blue waves of the paint pulsated like a heart, gathering the whole team's blue light into a tsunami. A refreshing feeling of destruction came over her, and she fired continuously. The fourth shot shattered the shield of the second mothership. The green light receded, exposing the internal crystal core. The fifth and sixth shots swept through the elite fleet. 5 enemy planes twisted and fell into the sea, and the waves swallowed up the wreckage. The sea surface was filled with flames and the salty smell of gunpowder smoke filled the air. Shihan laughed loudly. "Guantang, your net is broken. The blue wave is coming." As the crisis progressed, the core of Guantang's mothership emerged, as huge as a floating island, with the red-cloaked flagship standing in the center, and its purple light claws buzzing like thunder. The green pulp cannon charged up, aimed at the team, the defense network reorganized, and the elite aircraft counterattacked like a swarm. "Shihan, be careful. The mothership cannon is targeting you." Wenxiong roared, his machine gun shot out from the left wing, and the artillery fire suppressed the 3 elites. The shoulder armor fragments flew but did not retreat. "I cover." "Little girl, your blue wave is the flag, charge." Shihan's engineering vehicle spraying out nano mist, like blue mist filling the sea, she gasped, "Support is in place." The entire team's nano-reflective layer is injected, 30% reflective green paste, reversing thermal control. "Shihan, your paint is the core, I fine-tune the wave pattern, gather the aftermath to attack the mothership." The team worked together and Chihua locked the weakness of the mothership, energy lock completed. The 3 convergence points are exposed. Shihan, blast it with continuous fire. Shihan's mecha jumped up, avoiding the first wave of the giant cannon. The green slurry wiped the sea surface and evaporated water vapor, and the heat wave rushed towards it like a wall of fire. She predicted the arc, and poured out the 7th and 8th energy cannons in a row. The blue light rolled through the defense net like a tsunami, reflected in silver-blue lines, and tore apart the 2nd layer of shield. The 9th shot hit the convergence point directly, the mothership trembled, the green light cracked the spider web, and the elite aircraft became chaotic. Fumio's sweep cleared the way, and Shuefen's nano-layer caused the green pulp to bite back the enemy aircraft, causing 3 of them to self-destruct into fireballs. Refreshing points. Shihan's silver and blue logo shines on the battlefield, the team follows up and destroys the 3rd mothership, the explosion chain is like fireworks, the debris rains down, and the waves roll back to engulf the remaining enemies. We are reversing. Guantaing, it's your end. Shihan roared, her growing confidence lifting the whole team like a blue wave. But the turning point came suddenly. Guantaing's flagship burst out, its claws of purple light ripped through the air like giant hooks, and went straight to the core of Shihan. The torrent of green liquid blocked the vision, the elite guards surrounded them, and the claw net was like an iron prison. Her mecha's shoulder armor was torn apart by claw strikes, and the pain rushed into her nerves like electricity. The synchronization rate plummeted to 85%, the barrel overheating alarm screamed, and the blue wave pattern dimmed. Damn it! I can't move. Shihan gritted his teeth, his vision blurred, and the salty sea breeze mixed with the smell of blood hit his nostrils. Guantaing's sarcasm echoed, "Little insect, your blue wave is broken. The invasion is over, the Earth is ours." The crises piled up, the team was suppressed, when Xiong's body damage intensified, Chihua's energy network was disconnected, and Shuefen's nanomist was dissolved by the plasma rain. Shihan felt as powerless as the ruins of her home 3 years ago, and a sea of fire emerged from her home. Her parents fell into the green slurry, the waves hit the corpses, and the endless pain was swallowed up like a tide. Why, have to lose again? The inner monologue was short and profound. She was almost defeated. The mecha staggered back and Green Claw approached. But the belief in homeland surges back like a blue wave. In my mind, the shadows of my parents reappear, my mother's gentle eyes. Shihan, live on and protect this sea, my father's firm back, our sea will never be destroyed. The blood of casualties and the shouts of teammates all turned into fuel. Can't fall. This is not the end, this is the final protection. Shihan took a deep breath, closed her eyes for a moment, her intuition rekindled like a torch, and her neural connections returned like a tsunami. The synchronization rate bounces back to 99%. I won't let you destroy more. For home, for everyone, Lan Lang, break out. She roared, her heart transformed, from the despair of near defeat to the pinnacle of faith. This reversal made her truly an elite. The mecha wakes up, the blue wave pulse accelerates, the silver-blue halo spreads across the field, and morale rushes into the team like electricity. Chihua, target Guantaing's weak point. Wenxiong and Shuefen, provide full support. Shihan ordered, and the mecha rushed forward to reverse the siege. Chihua gasped and restarted the energy network, locked. Weakness exposed, rear wing crystal core. Wenxiong roared, little girl, hold on. I clear the way. His residual cannon swept away the 2 guards, Shuefen sprayed out the last nano layer, full reflection. Your blue wave, gather our strength. The team worked together again. Shihan fired the 10th and 11th energy cannon in a row, the blue light bent through the claw net and hit Guantaing's rear wing. The beam gathered the aftermath, reflecting silver and blue lines, tearing the purple shield, the flagship trembled, and the red cloak was scorched black. Guantaing roared, impossible, little bug. But as the crisis advanced, the mothership's cannon charged up for the final blow. The green liquid approached the sea like a doomsday torrent, the waves evaporated into mist, and the team's formation was crumbling. Shihan locked the core, the barrel pulsed like a beating heart, and the blue wave aura illuminated the battlefield. This is the final blow. For the sake of the earth, fire. The energy gathered, the blue-white light ball expanded, and the thunder that tore the air shook the world. But the cannon has been locked, green light engulfs the field of vision, and suspense hangs on the tip of the knife like a wave. Word count, 1242. The energy of the green pulp cannon was like the roar of doom. The torrent of green light engulfed the sea surface. The waves evaporated into pungent acid mist in the heat wave. The air was filled with the burnt aroma of molten metal and the salty astringency of seawater. Shihan's field of vision was flooded by green light, the mecha's alarm shrieked like needles piercing his mind, a burning pain came from the crack in the shoulder armor, and the synchronization rate was shaking at the edge. But the pulsation of the blue waves was like the tide of home, gently caressing her nerves. The shadows of her parents flashed, gentle but firm. Shihan, protect it. She gritted her teeth, her heart solidifying like steel. We can't let this sea be dyed green again. Intuition is like thunder and lightning, predicting the launch trajectory of the giant cannon. 0.3-second delay, the blind spot is on the flank. Qihua, optimize the energy wave. Wenxiong, Shuefen, go all out. Shihan roared, his voice piercing through the chaos. The silver-blue mecha yanked the joystick and took advantage of the wave to roll over. The cannon beam grazed the tail fin, and the heat wave whipped like a fire whip, but the body trembled but did not fall. Received. The final energy wave injection, my golden finger is overclocked, the blue wave pattern gathers the aftermath of the whole team, and the ultimate gun mode is unlocked. Chihua's voice burst out from the communication, with breathless excitement, the logistics vehicle buzzed like a heart beating wildly, and the blue energy flow poured into Shihan's crystal core like a tsunami. The pulse of the barrel accelerates, the heat wave recedes, the cooling layer is as stable as a glacier, the silver-blue paint flashes with a halo, and the blue light of the team converges into an invincible shield. Shihan, double the gun speed, fire 6 shots in a row without detonating the tube. Let's end it together. Wenxiong's machine body burst out of the smoke, with sparks flying from the broken shoulder armor. He roared, little girl, cover is in place. I am clearing my personal guards, you go straight to the core. His artillery fire swept the 3 elite aircraft on the flanks, green slurry fragments flew, water columns exploded on the sea surface, and spray mixed with metal debris hit his face. Shuefen's engineering vehicle sprayed out nanomist, filling the battlefield like blue mist. She gasped, the system is stable. Fully monitor, the reflective layer wraps your mecha, the green slurry backfires 60%, I will pierce Guantang's shield. Go ahead, Shihan, this is your legend. The team's combined efforts are like a blue wave pushing a boat, and Shihan feels infinite power, from shrinking as a novice to invincible control now, this transformation is as turbulent as a tsunami. She laughed, and the mecha's thrusters spurted out blue flames, tearing through the green mist, and headed straight for the Guantang flagship. The silver-blue paint shines in the green light like a sea god descending, the invisible edge blurs the enemy radar, and the prediction is like a god, there is a 0.2-second flaw in the claw net encirclement of the personal guard Wutai. Coming! She roared, and the first ultimate energy cannon burst out. The blue-white light ball expanded, gathering blue waves to reflect, and the thunder that tore the air shook the sea surface. The beam bent and penetrated the claw net, directly hitting the core of the leading guard. Green flames shot into the sky, and the aftermath of the explosion hit the 2 surrounding units. Debris rained down, and the waves boiled. First round, clear the road. Shihan shouted, and the team drivers shouted in the communication, Captain is invincible. Keep up. Guantang's flagship trembled, his red cloak was as black as a blood flag, and he roared, little insect, your blue wave, don't even think about it. The giant purple claws counterattacked, and the torrent of green pulp came like a wall, but Shihan had already predicted the arc, the claw attack was delayed, and the blind spot of the plasma rain was in the sky. The mecha spun around and jumped up, avoiding the torrent, and the spray splashed with a wet and cold touch that penetrated the armor. She pressed the burst button, and the second and third energy cannons poured out. The blue light was like a tsunami. Chihua's optimization distorted the trajectory. Shuefen's reflective layer reflected the rain of plasma, and the green light exploded into a fireball. The beam penetrated directly through the flagship's flank shield, and the silver-blue lines gathered the aftermath. The shield shattered and spread like a spider web, revealing the pulsation of the internal crystal core. Weakness exposed. Wenxiong, suppress. Shihan ordered. Wenxiong's residual cannon smashed the pursuers, and shouted, "Well done, little girl." From the freshman in the simulated battle to the current elite, I am proud. His cover was like an iron wall, allowing Shihan to rush forward freely. The roar of the sea breeze mixed with the muffled sound of explosions, and the strong smell of gunpowder smoke did not hinder his vision. The core of the flagship is close at hand, and Guantang's purple light claws are dancing wildly, trying to block it, but Shihan's full value is synchronized like divine vision, and the world is as slow as still. Every tremor of green light, every deflection of claw shadow, are all under control. It's over, she whispered, and the fourth and fifth cannon beams burst out. The blue wave halo spread throughout the field. The morale bonus allowed the team to counterattack the mothership group, and the green shields collapsed one by one. The beam tore apart the claw arms, purple flames splashed out, Guantang's body staggered, and the sea surface trembled and set off huge waves. After accumulating power for the last blow, Chihua's energy wave was fully activated. Shihan, ultimate injection. This wave destroys the core, kill him. Shuefen monitored, 100% stable. The blue wave reflex is fully activated, counterattacking his energy. Wenxiong shouted, "Little girl, come on. We are behind." The sixth ultimate energy cannon gathered together, the blue-white light ball expanded like the sun, and the silver-blue paint pulsed like a heart. Shihan felt the sea of her home pushing waves behind her, the invincible rise, starting from a novice to an elite at this moment. She predicted victory and went straight to the core of the flagship. Pull the trigger, the beam explodes, the thunderous roar engulfs everything, the blue light tears through the green shield, like a tsunami devouring a giant beast. The beam penetrated the crystal core, and the chain explosions were like volcanic eruptions. Green flames shot into the sky, and debris poured down like meteor showers. Guantang's flagship twisted and collapsed, and the red cloak turned into ashes and scattered. His last growl was broken, "Human, you win." Then, silence. The core of the mothership was destroyed, the enemy forces collapsed like a tide, the green shadow retreated into the deep sea, and the invasion was terminated. The sea calmed down, the waves lapped at the wreckage, and the sun pierced the clouds and cast golden light. The climax of victory recedes like a blue wave, leaving behind a piece of clarity. Shihan's mecha landed on the beach, the hatch opened, and she slid out. Her legs were limp, but she smiled. The smoke in the air faded, the sea breeze was fresh, and my friends gathered around. Chihua threw herself into her arms, her short hair wet and tears shining. "Shihan, we did it. Your prediction, that last shot, invincible. The energy wave is my proudest optimization." When Xiong approached, a rare smile appeared on Scar's face. He patted Shihan's shoulder, and warmth came from his rough palm. "Little girl, I have known since the first day in the academy. You have the guts. But this growth, from the crying newborn to the elite who destroyed the fleet, I am convinced. The Earth owes you its life." Shuefen jumped out of the construction truck, her work clothes covered with dirt. She hugged Shihan, her greasy face full of joy. "Painting is a legend. Silver and blue waves protect us. Surveillance data shows that all enemy troops have been destroyed and the college is safe." The squad of soldiers cheered loudly, the mecha's engine roared like a celebration, and the sun reflected the blue waves, flashing like a victory badge. Shihan looked around at everyone, and a warm current of perfection surged in his heart. The rebirth of a home is not about rebuilding bricks and mortar, but about the calmness of this sea. The shadow of my parents faded in my mind and turned into a blessing. She whispered, "Thank you everyone. Without Chihua's energy, Wenxiong's cover, and Xuefen's stability, I would still be the girl hiding in the ruins. But now, we have won. The Earth has been saved from destruction, and peace has finally arrived. Qihua held her hand tightly, his eyes bright. Jingjings, yes, let's rebuild together. I want to build a greenhouse on the seaside, plant it full of flowers, and let the children play without gunfire. Wenxiong snorted, but nodded with a smile. I will accompany you after I retire. Shihan, you are a legendary hero, and the college will always remember Lan Lang. As the sun set and the waves lapped at the beach, Shihan stood side by side with her friends and looked towards the horizon. The blue sky returns like home, and the wind carries the foreboding scent of flowers. She felt that the trajectory of her growth was complete, from the excitement of a mecha novice to the invincibility of an elite on the battlefield. This road, although stained with blood, led to light. The future is in front of us, and the peaceful world is waiting for them to protect it.